And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
145. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. What is it? Put that in the big bag, Signal.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Well, hello everybody. It's deja vu time again. We're going to get a full stack again. Hopefully this time for the wet dress rehearsal campaign that's coming up. They did destack, as you all saw. They've been doing some work on it after the ship, so quite interesting. Also, I've seen some people on the hot staging ring at the top of booster 10. But hopefully all that's been rectified now, and any moment now we should see a lift of Ship 28 to create the full stack once again. And then we can get more and more excited about the impending chance of us seeing the third launch of Starship. So we're going to do live commentary for this lift, and I'm ably joined by Ryan Caton. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello, Chris. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, we don't have to get any more of that metal music in this evening. But anyway, if we do, it's not the worst thing in the world. I saw many people very much enjoyed it, but fingers crossed, it happens quick enough that we can just stick to listening to our wonderful voices.
I do have my guitar on standby. It will be terrible,
Very
but
well,
it'll be
Chris, very
entertaining.
well.
Yes. Also joining us is another Ryan to make life fun with the way I say question for Ryan. I'm very careful. Ryan Weber, say hello.
Oh, hi, Chris. How have you been doing today? We're sitting here waiting. Ship's already a little bit off the stand, which we'll go ahead and cover here in a little bit. But yeah, it's been a nice, relaxing Monday here.
Indeed. Now, the fun thing about this stream is not only are we hoping to see Ship 28 in the air with the chopsticks again, but we are going to release the IFT3 NSF merch. I know we were going to do it on last stack, but it just delayed. It's the middle of the night. And I said actually at the time, we didn't want to have to release brand new merch and not have the store team in reserve, making sure everyone's looked after during their purchases. So we delayed it to this stream, and luckily we will have Adrian popping on during the time of release. So fun times to look forward to, but it's definitely happening this stream, whatever. We've decided it doesn't matter. We're doing it this time. We're doing it live, as the old GIF does on the memes, as all these younger people say. I'm trying to sound young, but I'm way too middle-aged for that now. Anyway, moving quickly on. If you've got any questions and you're already doing it, Ian, yes, mentioned I'm a northern monkey. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, obviously you're a southern softie, as we say in retort. If you've got any questions, do add a spaceflight. I'll come in a little panel of ours. We'll be able to read them out for you, and obviously try and answer them, which is probably more useful than just reading them out. So if you do have any of those, do add a spaceflight, then your question. That's the way it gets into the panel, so we can keep an eye on things. But let's do a quick status update on what we've been watching so far today, because we've been covering this obviously on Starbase Live 24/7, as we always do. So Ryan, would you like to kind of update us on what we've seen being done before we hopefully see this lifted?
So yeah, I'll kind of start with back last night. Or actually, you can go even back to when they stacked it. So they took a little while longer than normal to stack the ship. It looks like they were having some issues with trying to align it. It looked fine. The loud bang that everyone heard is completely normal. They've had that in the past. It's usually just the ship settling on the booster. However, at some point during the end of the day yesterday, we had we had a lift go all the way up to one of the clamps that holds the ship on through the hot stage ring. They were up there for like an hour, and then they went back down. Shortly after that, We saw crews go up to the ship QD. They disconnected the grounding lines, which they usually have hooked up. Those are only removed in 2 instances: when they want to destack and when they want to launch. It helps ground the ship so it doesn't build up any charge or anything along those lines. That was our first indication of a destack. Now, after the destack and during the day today, crews were working on all three clamps up on the hot stage ring. And just recently, as of around like 2 hours ago or so, they lifted the ship slightly off the transport stand and started working on the clamp areas under the ship itself, which are just interfaces. Don't know why they did this. There's a chance that they may have ran into some issues with the clamps. We don't really know exactly what's going on. All we can see is to what they're doing. But that's kind of where we're at. And the ship is partially lifted, press plates off. The ship QD work platform is retracted, and we're basically waiting for them to clear out the launch pad for a lift.
Excellent. And it would be very nice if they do actually lift at this time. I have been hoping that we'll get a sunset lift because the visuals of that will be fantastic, rather than late at night with their massive spotlights, which tends to sort of like still be cool to watch, but it's not as good as a sunset lift. So I'm hoping that happens. So I want to thank a few people. RC Horseman was in before we started actually talking on the stream, which is amazing, and not the first time RC Horseman's done that from our Wrapped side experience. So thank you, RC Horseman, who just simply says, release the patch. It is coming. It's a crisp promise. We're doing it on this stream. Regardless of how long we're here for, we are doing it on this stream to release the IFT3 merch because it did delay way too long on the first lift. So we just thought, well, this time we're definitely doing it regardless because we've got the people available for it. 1979 Camara has gifted a Red Team membership, and Jack Wells has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. So if you've got a suddenly we're wondering why you're a member, don't worry, YouTube's not auto-build you or something like that. You have been gifted a membership for a month for free from someone else in our community. And I have been on many streams, big streams of different subject matters, and they do not do anything close to the gifting that goes on in our community. So it really is a real testament to the people we have following us, that they are so generous enough to gift memberships. So if you do get one and you're wondering how or when, just say thank you in chat, because I guarantee you it's probably just happened and you will be thanking the person who gifted it. Okay, let's get to the crunch, the elephant of the room, which is when they did the mate the first time round. We saw it, in fact, it was quite evident because the noise was obvious as well, that there was a thonk. And John asks, we're hoping to hear a smooth shonk as opposed to a dirty thonk. I think that is probably quite accurately written. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Weather, from previous experiences of mates, did that seem a little off, or is that pretty much part of the course, just for people's calibration of this kind of event?
I mean, usually it makes a thump. It's basics doing the last little bit, and the entire 120 to 160 tons, however much the ship weighs, the entire weight of the ship then goes down onto the booster, and the booster settles. That's basically the sound that it's making. So yeah, it's not out of the norm. Sometimes it's louder than others. But over all the stacks that they've done so far, which, if memory serves here, I even counted it up earlier today, if I can find it. They've done more than enough stacks, so they're kind of used to it at this point.
Very good. I should thank Sean Doherty, who's out there, who deployed this special camera, because we have all our cameras around Starbase. As you all know, people who use Starbase Live, we have a multitude of cameras that I sometimes like to go on tours with. But obviously, for some views, we do like to have a mobile unit which can be positioned in the most optimal position for this kind of coverage. And Sean took out the camera for that position. So thanks to Sean for putting it into this very good view of where we can see all of the aft, and we will see it raise. Absolutely, once these people decide to get out of the way of the ship, because I'm waiting for these people to move away, and then we can get more excited. But it's probably not far off. It could happen any minute. So we're keeping a close eye on it. Hopefully it will be mid-sentence when it does, and I'll be looking at the screen. Another elephant in the room is a lot of people have been discussing the fact that they did obviously do some, I say this carefully, engine swaps. Now, it could be the same engines they reinstalled, or it could be separate engines. Usually that means they then need to redo the static fire test for ship. Now, we also saw during the first lift, I'm bringing you back in again, Ryan Webber. Sorry, we'll get questions for Ryan Caton soon, I promise. But we saw the stiffener rings, didn't we, that we expected to see. We didn't see them during the lift. So the question from Flawed is, how is ship being stacked without a static fire? Do we even expect a static fire test now?
So we didn't really know what to expect, if we expected the stiffener rings back or not. There was one of the RVAC nozzles that looks pretty new. It could be a new engine. It might not be. The problem is we have no way of 100% telling unless we can see the serial number on it, and we can't see that. Maybe if they do it while it's still a little bit light out, we might get a chance to, but we don't really know. The other part is they could still destack it after a wet dress, roll it over to pad B, put it on pad B, put the stiffener rings on, and fire it. That's something they could do if they wanted to. It's not like they can't static fire it at all. So that's kind of where they're at with that. And for the earlier thing, they have stacked ship on a booster. This includes the original crane stack, by the way, 17 times. 13 times during the day, 4 times during the night. So this might be our 5th night stack at this rate. So, yeah.
Nice. It's a stream full of Ryans because another Ryan has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. So thank you very much to you, and well done to the 5 people who gained the membership via Ryan's generosity there. Other questions, Ryan Caton. What do you think Ship 26's fate is, which is Kevin Michael Reed's favourite ship for some reason?
I think everyone on the planet, apart from Mr. Kevin Michael Reed, agrees it's the worst ship. It has no purpose. It's a bit boring. I understand some people actually have an affection for Ship 26. I don't want to be mean to anybody, but it's very kind of just seems like they're just kind of crudely just hammering stringers to it, just like maybe testing out new techniques or something. Maybe they're going to use it as a test tank. It just doesn't seem very flight worthy, you know? I mean, I know people are holding out hope it's going to be an HLS test bed or like one of the orbital depot test beds. I mean, you can hold out hope. I really struggle seeing that thing going any further vertically, intentionally. You know, I just maybe they'll pop it. I don't know. Maybe just complete rumor mill theorizing things here. Maybe they'll send it down to Massey's with all the new stringers on it and do like a cryoproof and pop it and see how much stronger the ship is with the stringers attached to it. Maybe that's what they'll do. I don't know. That's just a theory, but it just doesn't look like anything we've seen fly so far. So you know, I don't want to disappoint people, but it's a bit naff.
No, I agree. I like the theory there where they'll test the stringers for reinforcement by sending it to Massey's for a Viking funeral via a pop test. What do you think, Ryan Webber?
I really don't know what they're using it for. I mean, they kind of put all the couplers on for all the stringers, and then it looks like they haven't really touched it much in like the last week. I want it to get popped. It'd be fun, you know. Or cut in half. I really don't care how you destroy it. I want to see it get destroyed because it'd be fun to watch, and because Kevin might get sad, but it's still.
I agree. Yeah. Now I know Ryan Caton's a massive fan of this pop star, so I'm going to ask a question to you, Ryan. Dark Garax asks, any thoughts on Elon telling Kanye West 3 weeks?
I think we're fully accustomed now to Elon time.
Yeah.
I think 3 weeks would be ambitious from the current point of view, that we're still waiting for them to put the ship on top of the booster. We're still waiting for some cryogenic testing, like a wet dress rehearsal. We're still waiting for the last comment we got from the FAA last week. Adrian asked, we're still waiting for SpaceX to submit their end of the mishap investigation for the FAA to verify and do all of the safety stuff that is required. So I think I think February is definitely off the table at this point, in my opinion. It would just be ridiculously quick to even get it done by February 29th. March, the beginning of March, I feel like is realistic. Maybe a week or so longer than what Elon said on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, 4-5 weeks. I can feel 4 to 5 weeks. I can't feel 3 weeks at the moment.
Ryan, other Ryan, what do you think? Because I actually think that was quite realistic, especially for Elon, because that does fit into potentially the start of March as a realistic timeline. But based on what we've seen recently, do we think we're still in that gravitas of that area of schedule ability?
It's not impossible. We'll go with that. I mean, so they stack, they get a partial prop load and then a wet dress or whatever done. And then after that there's still a few little things to finish up around the launch site. Vehicle wise, I don't know what else they have other than putting the decals on 28. If they have to do the static fire, they can do a static fire with they can do that within a couple of days. That's not really hard to do. It's just after a static fire, then they have to go fix a bunch of tiles again. So they probably don't want to do that. It's possible. I would probably go with 4 weeks personally, maybe 4. That's kind of a good number to go a month away. That's probably what I would go with.
I'd feel bad not asking this question, Ryan Webber. I'm sure people are going, Chris, surely you got better questions than this, but I'm going to ask anyway because I know you're a fan. Jiminax suggests that ship weighs 20,000 Taylor Swifts. Now, maybe you could go on the back of the paper and do some calculations on that to see if that is accurate or not. Because
no idea.
No idea. Yeah, the saviour of NFL ratings certainly is getting a lot of mentions recently. So well done to Taylor Swift. Archie asks, when do we think we would see 9 engines, 3 sea level, 6 vacuum to Starship? And also says, love the streams, been here watching since SM4's Rud. Wow, yeah, that was back in the early days. Back when that was happening quite regularly, ironically, by the way. And I think it's a testament to SpaceX that it's very rare we see of any test failures. A lot of them, or in fact, nearly all of them are on purpose, as pressurized, such as masses, pressurization tests. It's a really good throwback to when they were popping things, probably not always on purpose, quite regularly, and SM4 was a good example of that. But yeah, to the question, I will start with Ryan Caton. When do we think we'll see the 9-engine variant that we've seen proposed for ship, where they've got 6 RVACs and 3 sea levels?
That's a really interesting question, because Elon has been kind of very subtly teasing 9 engines on the ship for a very long time now. I feel like adding 3 extra vacuum engines could be something to like a feature of the V2 Starship that Elon's mentioned, but I don't think it will be like an immediate thing, but further down the road. So it's hard to say, definitely, don't take this as the gospel, but I think 9 engines could be something coming, maybe into the ship 40s potentially. That's just my thinking anyway.
Very good. Ryan Webber, when do you think we'll see this 9-engine variant?
I think they'll do it when they need it. I mean, I know a lot of this, what they've done with Starship is while they're building it and trying to figure it out, they're trying to optimize at the same time, which you could see that as a good thing to do. It also kind of hurts it a little bit, trying to optimize and trying to figure out the design at the same time. To be honest, for me, I would kind of tell them to design then optimize, but what do I know? I'm just a mechanic. But then you have a possible V3, which he mentioned during the all hands meeting, which would be a stretch ship. I think by that point you would probably need 9 RVACs, 6 RVACs for a total of 9 engines. V2 could have it. It might not. The problem is we just don't really know because we haven't seen V2. I mean, we've seen what could be V2 nose cones from ship 36 and 7, but that's really about it. I mean, it's gonna It's going to be a wait and see when they do it. It'll be a really, really cool day when they do it, because the only time we're going to find out is when they roll the ship out and either static fire it at the suborbital site or Massey's, and then they tweet and they go, first 9-engine static fire by ship, and we'll all go, what? That'll literally be like the first time we find out. So it's kind of be funny.
Nice. Scarecrow has been asking a question multiple times as a pressing question, so I'm going to make sure this actually asked this time. Is asking how they control the chopsticks. Is it done remotely, on site, at the pad, or is it autonomous? Ryan Weber, do you want to continue, because I know you'll know the answer?
It's autonomous. Basically, it's a program. They have preset, like when they lift off of the stand, it's a preset location in which the carriage goes up, as well as when it goes up, it stops, it goes over, and everything like that. For the minute adjustments, I don't really know how they do that. I don't think that'd be a joystick. That could be just inputting coordinates into a program, or it could be the system trying to line it up. I don't actually know how they do it on that front.
I think Chris G is sat in the tower with a USB Xbox controller controlling the chopsticks. That's my theory.
There you go.
Yes. Actually, we did see back in the early days, it wasn't an actual SpaceX account, but it looked like a pretty legitimate photograph of some of the actual readouts. And if that was accurate, then I kind of think because the replies were kind of like, well, we need to take this down, we need to take this down. So it's almost like it was a real picture of it. The actual measurements and controls are very complicated, and I'm not surprised by that, because while many people will think you press up, you press sideways, and you press down to make the thing, the alignment involved, and especially talking about this particular stack, the alignment involved is a lot of minute complications of how they control this thing. It is an impressive thing. I remember when I first heard Virulon that were going to catch the ship and catch the booster with this giant mechanical hands on the tower, I was like, is this one of Elon's jokes? Is this the bouncy castle joke again? Because we've had many of those examples over the years, but to see it working in reality is just absolutely impressive. I do think it's already paid its way because of the way it's used for stacking, never mind the potential future use of it in catching the actual boosters at the launch pad. I mean, that will bring down the timeline of reusing a vehicle infinitely. It's absolutely impressive what they're thinking there. It's going to take a while to get the landings right, but the fact that it's used already for stacking is fantastic. Well, thanks. Ryan's back. Ryan is back saying unlikely, but Ship 26 is an engine test stand. As
that
an
would
engine
be funny.
That would be, that would be probably. I didn't even consider it before it was mentioned, but I do like the idea of it being taken out to masses and they're testing the stringers, because why else would they add stringers and then not test it? Now, that to me sounds like a real good path. We're going to keep very close on that. If we see Ship 26 roll to masses, we all go and ping Ryan and say, Ryan, look what's happening. It's going to masses, and we'll probably find that's absolute reality of what happens. Nathan with a star message. Moon. That is the message. I am reading out exactly as it's been written out there. Thank you very much for your support. The store is something, when we're live and you buy something from the store, and when we release the IFT merch, you may be quite a few of you, you are welcome to put a message into the purchase box, which is when you check out, and that will be read out on stream because it'll go into our panel. So that's another little handy little option for during streams, that when you buy merch, you can actually also get a message read out. And the merch in question there was a patch, and there's a new patch coming very, very soon. As soon as SpaceX press up on the chopsticks, which I was saying earlier is how to do it, then we'll be releasing the merch. So
we'll have Adrian do it how they don't do it.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking, please do it now. The lighting is fantastic to do it now. Please do it now, SpaceX.
Starbase sunsets are just like unreal. Like, there's no way. It's some kind of weird scientific phenomenon. All the sunsets at Starbase are just beautiful. Yeah.
Damien asks, is Ship 28's payload door welded shut? Now, I wonder if Jay, who's in the background, I didn't even thank him when we started the stream. Jay is doing all the button pressing and producing in the background. Thank you, Jay. May have a nice view of Ship 28's payload bay.
It is somewhat blocked by the chopstick, but I can tell you that it is not welded shut. it is currently being held closed by a set of locks, like a little just locks that hold the door together. They basically just hold the door.
Does SpaceX have a key? Is it like my door key?
Yeah,
to unlock the
exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Oh, wow. I was being sarcastic.
No, I'm being sarcastic too. No, they'll pull those locks off when they're ready to go, when they're ready for flight. So, yeah.
Very good. Actually, that brings a question up from me. When do we think we'll see the first payload being installed, even if it's just for a test article, just kind of like a way of saying we just want to demonstrate things, we're not looking to actually going for a proper mission here, we just want to demonstrate a payload, or when do we think we'll see that happen? Are we talking 2, 3, or 4 flights time, do you reckon? Start with Ryan Webber, because you started talking.
Okay. I mean, the real question is how well does Ship 28 do? If Ship 28 does nearly perfect and re-enters, then my guess is Ship 29 will go. My guess Ship 29 will probably go to orbit, because they'll want to get to orbit and then perform an actual deorbit burn from like full orbital velocity. If they do that, they may use that opportunity to deploy some dummy Starlinks, because especially if they only go to say 250 kilometers up, or not even like 250 kilometers, it won't take long for something like that to re-enter, and it'll burn up pretty quickly. So they may use that opportunity to do that. So it could be as soon as 29. I wouldn't be surprised. Or it could be 30. But they do have an operational Pez dispenser. They have an operational door. And all they need is something to put inside and launch it out of. So.
Actually, we've got a fun fact about the chopsticks here from Elisar in our back room, saying, Chris, if you're looking for a fun fact, last Saturday was the 2-year anniversary of the first chopstick stack. They have made great progress in smoothing out their progress. So it's got a bit squeaky, I will say. It now sings whale songs, or the impression of a 3-year-old on a trombone. I always like to think it's that way. But it's quite squeaky. It could do a bit of greasing, I would say. But it is, again, backing up my point, I think it's been a great addition just for the stacking. As we see an elevator come down the tower right now. That hopefully is people leaving.
Hopefully.
I mean, they can have certain number of people there anyway. They don't have to be like exclusion zone time. But it's certainly more encouraging when we start seeing the aft of the ship cleared of personnel. Then we can hopefully start hearing the slack being taken up and then raised. It actually is raised off the platform, the stand itself, isn't it, Ryan? Webber?
Yeah, it's like, it's hard to tell. It's like 6 inches off the stand. Like, basically, Ship 28 has been in the air for, I don't know, like 2.5 hours now. It's been in the air for a while, which makes, they seem to have a lot of trust in the chopstick system. I'll just say that. And it looks like there's a lift up at the QD, I think, finishing taping up all the QD holes. Inputs, so that's one of the last few things they got to do, and then kind of clear it out. So yeah, hopefully soon.
Very good. We just saw, before we changed the ship quick disconnect, as we should have, because we're talking about it, a question about the TPS. Now, I thought the TPS looked fantastic in that previous view, and in fact that's a great view as well. The TPS does look very good, and there's a question from Admiral here who asks, do you think they'll ever solve the tile loss issue? Well, I will start, as I always do, by noting the 30-year experience of the space shuttle, where they never got it right. I mean, they always lost some tiles. The key always was they could afford to lose some tiles, but it was where they lost the tiles. There were certain areas, like the wing leading edge, and everything which was related to the high-pressure areas of the S-burn, the S-turns when they came back through re-entry. They could not lose certain tiles in certain areas. Main landing gear, nose landing gear, you do not want to lose tiles from there. So when they did the TPS inspections, they called a DAT, which is a damage assessment team, meeting with the photography from the ascent and also from the RPM, which did a backflip under the ISS on day 3 of the flight, and the OBSS inspections on flight day 2, and they would compare with the belly shot, true story, the belly shot of the orbital lifted in the VAB, in the transfer aisle. They would compare and make sure that every single tile was there, or if they'd lost a tile, they could compare it. And then they would decide if it was cleared for entry. They'd do another test, another check of the TPS 1 day before re-entry, and then clear for landing. And that's how they did it. So you can lose tiles because it did say, okay to re-enter, and there were some tiles missing. So the question here is, they don't want to lose the amount of tiles we saw lost on Ship 25 via
that was bad.
WE57 video. That would probably not be a survivable re-entry for that ship if that had been the case. What do we think, Ryan Webber, what do we think they're doing to improve the chances of keeping at least most of the tiles on the ship during ascent based on the 2 flights they've had experience?
Well, one of the biggest things is quality control, and that's a big thing with the program as a whole. A lot of that is doing more of the tiling inside, making sure when they put the tiles on, if it's adhesive or anything, make sure the area is cleaned. And a lot of the other things is when they're stacking it, is they stack it inside where the door closed. I know people don't like the doors, but it'll be a really, really big help down the line. So, and as you know, Chris, SpaceX worked with NASA regarding this heat shield as well, because they're the ones with all the experience.
Yep.
So like it's not just SpaceX working on this heat shield, it's NASA. I bet even like I wouldn't be surprised if like the U.S. Air Force was working with them as well, because there's a lot of agencies that have experience with heat shields, and they would all work together to make sure this thing works right. And it's always one of those finicky things to get down, but I think they'll get it. I think they'll get it at some point. You can still lose some because nothing's perfect, but you know.
Well, thanks. I think it's important we always thank people because they are the reason why we can afford to have cameras like this all over the place and do these live streams, because of the support of our community, and it is absolutely the main reason why we can do everything we do. So thank you to JY, who gifted 10 Red Team memberships. That's massive support. Thank you, JY. I very much appreciate it. And again, some tips to people in Starbase Live just earlier today. We had a bit of a gift train going on. It is always noticed. I have SBL on a monitor all the time, and it catches my eye when the green thing comes up naturally, because it shows like Jimmy does there with his member thing there. It just shows up already quite clearly. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting us during the day. Never mind during this stream itself, such as JY with his 10 memberships. The Nozzles gifted a Red Team membership. Bideford is back again with 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much for your support, Bideford, as always. And BC has done a super chat saying they need a payload for proper orbital insertion. Do you think it will be the first flight after successful orbital insertion, even if they don't have the landing figured out yet? So, Ryan, Caton, let's pretend, right, that Flight 3 we're about to see, hopefully early in March, we guess, goes perfectly well. Everything's wonderful. Everyone's high-fiving themselves in Starbase Mission Control and saying, well, that went very well. Next, IFT4. Do we think maybe they'll move on to thinking of a payload at that point rather than worry about anything about the landing technology, because the landing's going to be a many missions off yet before they start landing on chopsticks? But do we think the payload orbital insertion parameter being achieved means next flight we stick payloads on this?
I would not be surprised if there was some kind of mass simulator. Now, this is SpaceX, so I'm hoping it wouldn't just be a block of concrete. I don't know how many Cybertrucks can fit inside of a ship, for example. Just saying, not saying it would happen. But we also know that SpaceX is eager to get Starlink V2, the full-sized ones, not the minis, the full-size Starlink V2 satellites into orbit. So I think SpaceX would be willing to risk Starlinks on early flights because it's their own technology. It's like, you know, it's a source of income for the company. Flight 4, though, that's a really interesting question, because SpaceX isn't scared to let things blow up, but it's whether they would want to put Starlink satellites on Flight 4 pending a successful Flight 3. So,
Let me actually just clarify, by the way, Ryan, because I butchered that question slightly, and I promised in chat I would slap myself live on air, and I'm going to do that now. There you go. That'll wake me up. they need a payload for proper orbital insertion. That's the question. Do we think that the mass, as you were intimating there, the mass simulator would be the way to go before actually putting a payload on for that achievement?
I would expect a simulator on Flight 4 before a Starlink satellite, because I think, let's be honest here, Starlink is going to be the provisional way to test putting satellites into orbit from Starship. So a mass simulator before Starlink would be like the logical path, in my head at least. But I mean, you never know. I also wouldn't really be surprised if they just throw Starlink satellites on this thing. You know, it's their own satellites on their own rocket. They can kind of do whatever they like. So, yeah. But I would expect a simulator.
What do you think, Ryan Webber?
Yeah, it'd probably be like a dummy Starlink or something along those lines. That's what I would expect.
Not a ball of cheese.
Ball of cheese. I think it'd be a dummy Starlink, well, because or some kind of dummy payload that fits inside the Pez dispenser, because they, as far as we know, they're nowhere near like a normal cargo door right now. So, yeah. And I'm just gonna say, the lighting we have right now, can they lift right now? Like,
yeah,
can they?
Actually, I think we've been asking to lift during these great lighting hours. I think it's maybe reverse psychology time. Please don't lift. Hey, SpaceX, if you're listening, please don't lift right now. Whatever you do, don't lift. Let's see if it happens. Watching. Oh, it didn't work. Never mind. Anyway, moving quickly on. Actually, a fair few questions asking this same one. Did the PA klaxon go off this time? I don't know if we heard. No, I don't think we heard it, did we?
Did not.
Oh well.
Klaxon can't be trusted anymore, guys.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
Come on. They did the klaxon, like, I don't know, it felt 3 years before they actually lifted it the last time. Like, just don't trust the klaxon.
I think one of the funniest lifts we ever saw out of here was the second to last stack for Ship 25 before they did the grid fin test and found a couple of broken grid fin motors. So they had spent all day installing the FTS. You know, everyone's around the site, they're installing the FTS, they're doing some tile work on the ship. You know, they're doing all this other stuff. And then as the night goes in and they're finishing it up, the launch site starts to clear and everything, and within a minute, 5 minutes of them finishing the FTS, a crew goes up with a crane, unhooks the lines, takes the press plate off, they drive everything out of the way, and then it just stacks. They just stack it. Like, it was, I don't know, from finishing the FTS to stacking, it was like, I don't know, it was like a solid like 20 minutes, not even. It was really, really fast. That was one of the funniest lifts I've seen.
We have heard in the background that many cars have now departed, so there's very few people there if they're in the area at all. I am keeping a very close eye on the screen right now just to see, as I see a shadow of a human walking around, but hopefully we're not far off. I would hate to be saying in 2 hours' time, it's happening soon, promise, because I'm hoping they're going to lift very soon.
The lift that was, I think, applying the last of the speed tape, or it's basically like metal. It's metal with adhesive on the back of it, is basically what it is what they use to cover the QD ports. I think that lift just backed off, and that might be some of the last few people to leave. So maybe we'll get a lift here in, I don't know, maybe next 15 minutes, 20 minutes, hopefully.
Very good. Ryan Caton, do we know? I asked a question about room, but I don't know if anyone answered it. Do we know how far away the camera is with the zoomed-in view, which is the one on the right-hand side right now? Do we know how far away that is?
Let me open Google Earth Pro very
quickly. Here we go. Live measurements.
I'm going to try and keep rambling for long enough that the program will load and leave the splash screen. There we go. And then let's zoom in on Starbase and try and very quickly get a quick circumference.
It's a shame we can't show this calculation live on stream.
Right?
Yeah.
Circle. This is going to be it's going to be anywhere from roughly 160 to say 300-ish meters. So
there we go. What's that in Americanisms?
I just closed the thing, Chris. I don't even care anymore. It's meters for life.
Oh,
it
dearie
yourself.
me. Yeah. Already with Thomas Hayden asking what's that in feet. About 300 yards. There we go. That's fair enough. That works. It's the length of 3 football fields, and that works in both translations because they're both roughly the same length. There we go. So, for both sports. So that works.
Yeah,
When go on, Ryan.
300 meters is like 1,000 feet, give or take.
Is it? All right, 1,000 feet. Right, there we go. Very good. So everybody's happy now. We don't have any imperial versus metric arguments going on. That's good. Very good. Noah asks a question I've never seen before. Why don't they mold a Starship nose cone so it can be one piece? Now, there's 2 parts to that, Ryan Webber, isn't there? Because one, they have reduced, I do believe, on the Tim Dodd tour inside Starbase with Elon Musk, that they were reducing the amount of panels they needed for a nose cone. So down in front, by the way. But hopefully, do you think we'll ever see a nose cone molded in one go?
No, I don't think they'll ever do one in one shot. There's a lot of components that go up inside there, and like the tip of the nose cone is basically the tip of the LOX header tank. And then just below it is the methane header tank. So basically the header tank is integrated into the tip of the nose cone. I don't know how they would do that if they molded it. I mean, they could weld the bottom half of the tank in, I guess. They kind of already do, but I don't know if they would ever do a full welded one. They used to do like a couple sets of smaller panels as they went up. And now it's basically, there's like a bottom half and a top half is basically all there is, and then the cap on is basically what they have now for the nose cone. They may do that down the line. I wouldn't put it past SpaceX to optimize it even more. It's what they do, so,
Very good. Overban asks, is it possible the FTS, Flight Termination System, to be activated when the vehicle is close to the ground or near the tower when they catch it? So let's just discuss how they work on the FTS rather than sort of like assuming what they could do. For the FTS, I remember when we first stacked this, we said, well, it's definitely not the last stack because they do need to do the FTS arming for a start. But how does that currently work on the ship side, Ryan Webber? Because I do believe it's internal that they have to arm it. Is that correct? That's why they have to be stacked for it.
It's so when they install it, there's a set of pins that they have that do a manual arm. So basically the pins prevent it from being armed at all while it's on the ground. Now when they pull those pins, the only thing stopping that is from the flight computer from arming the FTS. The FTS will get armed in the count, and then they can safe it as it's coming down like they do with Falcon. Alex will remember it more than I do on where Falcon gets the FTS gets safed on the way back down, but it won't get caught with the FTS armed. They'll safe it as it's gliding back down to the pad so that there's no chance of it going off or anything like that.
Very good. Mr. Vipritz asks, isn't the atmosphere on Mars much lower? Would there be a Mars-level Raptor engine? Do we think there'll be such a thing?
Mars-level Raptor engine? Well, sea level will still work on Mars. It'll work in space. It'll just be... Oh man, I might get this wrong. Trying to remember if it's... Because the vacuum, RVACs will work a lot better on Mars than they do on... RVACs will work better on Mars than they do on the surface of Earth because there's less atmosphere, so the expansion will work better. The sea levels, and Alex may come in here to correct me. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, so to line up the thoughts here, the sea level Raptor is going to be more efficient in a vacuum, but the vacuum Raptor is even more efficient because it's optimized for the vacuum of space. Mars atmosphere is near vacuum for all effects and purposes. Like it's as if you were like, I think it's something like 45 kilometers up in the atmosphere on Earth. Like that's really high up. So it's a very thin atmosphere. It's very close to a vacuum, and so both engines will work. It's just that the vacuum engines, the vacuum optimized engines, will be more efficient than the sea level ones. But the sea level ones will be more efficient than if they were at higher atmospheric pressure. But they could work. Like you can use both if you want to. Anyways, that's my input.
Yeah.
Alex, ladies and gentlemen, Alex has joined us. Thank you, Alex, for your. See, Alex doesn't need an introduction. He doesn't need to be on the start of a stream. Alex will just arrive when Alex seems he needs to arrive on the stream, and Alex just did there. Thank you, Alex. Much appreciated. Right, quick thanks again. Thank you very much to a question here. Hi guys, why aren't the heat shields bigger? Why aren't the heat shields bigger considering the ship's size? I know this ship can't carry 100 people, even though he said so, Elon being he. So why not a ship twice or thrice the size? I love the wording of that, by the way. I mean, aren't they going to go to eventually to a bigger ship, a taller ship? That's what Elon said he's proposing.
They'll go to a taller ship. They'll extend the tanks, and they'll probably extend the payload bay a little bit. If you're talking twice the size instead of in terms of width, I mean, I'll just say that would require a completely new pad, launch system, build site. Everything would have to be changed at that point. They've chosen 9 meters, and they are stuck at 9 meters wide. That's where they're at. They ain't gonna change that unless they want to redo everything that they have. Making it taller, they can definitely put more people on board because they can extend the size of the payload bay. Currently, the volume of the payload bay is this. If I remember correctly, it's 1,000 cubic meters or so, which is like more than the ISS, which livable room, which is pretty big, to be honest. And if they make that bigger, I mean, that's kind of insane. That's a lot of room. Now, granted, a lot of it's taken up by like COPVs and whatnot like that. And if you're talking about a bigger heat shield, bigger tiles are actually worse. So the smaller the tiles you have, the better you can, the less of a gap you can have between the tiles, which means plasma not getting in between. And also, it makes it easier for the tiles to go around curves. So one thing we did see a couple months ago is we saw what looked like a prototype for possibly smaller tiles on a ring section. Now, they could do that for places around the flaps, like the flap fairings, the flaps themselves, as well as the top of the nose cone, so that instead of having to glue those on, they can use pinned tiles, and they can go around corners and curves a lot better with smaller tiles. So smaller is actually better in terms of heat shield tiles.
Very good. I was a little bit distracted by the optical illusion going on here, right? I was wondering why are wires dangling from the ship quick disconnect arm. There we go. I can't even see it. I'm going to see it. It's not. You can actually see on the top part in the darkness. That's the chopstick cables. There we go. What are we waiting for with is the ship quick disconnect arm in a position it should be for the lift of the ship?
It needs to swing out.
Will that happen before they lift?
It could happen before they lift. It could happen during the lift.
Right. So it's not really an indicator. I can't get really super excited if it starts swinging now, but we just basically wait and see when they do it. That's cool. No problem at all. Mr. Ryan Caton, if you may. A question here. Did the tower segments arrive from Florida yet? Now, those are the 4 sections that were loaded onto the barge in the turret basin at KSC. I believe Mr. Gavin, who is a master of all seafaring vessels at NSF, said it would take about 8 days, or 5 to 8 days, to arrive in Texas, up the port of Brownsville. So I think that answers the question. But speaking of the tower sections, Tower 2, let's discuss that, because Elon has confirmed they're going to build a second tower at Starbase. When do you think we'll start seeing it rise out of the ground?
I know everyone wants to see it rise out of the ground. When it will happen is it's the elusive question of when. We all love a good when question. I'm going to say after Flight 3.
Wow,
I know that's not precise whatsoever, but I would highly doubt they'd try and do any work on this. But I think the focus is going to be on getting Flight 3 off the ground, especially considering what's happening right now. After Flight 3, I think construction could start. I mean, we are all still guessing where on earth it's going to be. So soon. I want it soon. So I'm going to say it's going to be soon, just after Flight 3, because that's when I want it to start. Yeah, that's the long-winded answer of saying soon. TM.
Very good. I just got super excited by 2 workers leaving and one threw his arms in the air as if to say, send it. That's the way I interpreted those hand signals. In fact, Ryan, you will know all about hand signals. I should have let you take that one, but I'm hopeful. There's still people apparently at the orbital launch mount. That doesn't preclude the fact that they could do this, but we're getting closer and closer as far as the clearance of personnel, or humans as we like to call them in SBL, to allow for this lift. I'm keeping a very beady eye on that TPS at the aft there, just to see if it rises up as we move to the ship quick disconnect view at the optimal time of me talking about it. When we're going back to it, there we go. Great. So, in fact, am I starting to see things now? And I wouldn't be surprised if I did. Has that raised a little bit?
Yes, it has.
It's not just me going crazy, is it?
No, ship raised a little bit more.
Well, chat is going crazy, so I'm definitely not going. Chat is absolutely confirming the same thing. So, 1, that's a win for my eyes, which is a rare win these days. And 2, let's get excited, people. We might be seeing this lift finally, and then we can curtail Adrian in to do the IFT3 merch link, because that's going to come out during the stack. So we're not far off. There's a car in the background. That hopefully isn't something that stops them doing it. But I think we're getting very close now. They've definitely taken it up slightly, which may be just the final step to saying green light, let's take it all the way and stack it on booster 10. I hope. So please interrupt me at any point if I'm looking away reading questions and we see the lift, because we'll prioritise that event as more people turn up. Now, are these people just the final people? I hope so. Hello, where's he going? Man in the white hard hat. What's he doing?
They're all wearing white hard hats, Chris.
Oh, white or black hard hats.
No. Hang on.
There's also people up at the OLM. There's people that went up on the ship QD. So I don't know. It looks like they're doing one last inspection, is what it looks like they're doing right now.
Can we get Sean to shout very loudly? It looks good, lads. Send it.
Oh, it was sitting on a bunch of blocks, is what it was sitting on.
Oh, the blocks.
Yeah, they didn't actually. It wasn't hovering. It was sitting on blocks. That's what it was sitting on. Okay, I didn't see those blocks before.
Oh, there we go.
That's probably a safety thing that they're not licensed to have people underneath a dangling starship, so they had to set it down or something.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't dangling. It was sitting on some blocks. Now those are removed. Let's just hope they don't lower it down and hook it back up.
Yeah. The next thing they'll do, they'll lower it onto the stand, hook it back up, and then they'll all leave, and we'll like.
At least we can't
thanks
be
for joining us. Thanks for joining us for
the ship.
Stream. Yeah.
They lifted the ship. It's not clickbait, everybody. This is the lift. Thanks for watching.
Oh my word.
So,
right.
But the other part of that is they removed the press lines. They've removed the press plate. They did not extend the work platform. I wonder if this is going to be because they might have had some issue because of the possible issues that they had with the lift, with the last lift. They may actually keep people around for alignment purposes. Like they could keep people up inside the tower. They might keep people up in a work platform and whatnot. Is what they might do. So we'll have to see here. Yeah.
Actually, thank some people before this lift. I'm going to basically say this lift's going to happen. So I'm going to do this as kind of like a almost encouragement for them to lift it by me reading out some thanks. Bruno Santos gifted 1 Red Team membership. Thank you, Bruno, and well done to the person who received the gifted membership, as did Jason Russell. And Bruno's back with a second one. Wow. Thank you, Bruno. And also, keep up the great work, guys. Thank you, Bruno. Very much appreciated. Anonymous simply says, with 2 store messages, you bought 2 things from the store, both of them with the hashtag WhenPatch3. Adrian, the demand is there. We just need to keep to our plan of sticking with the stacking. So hopefully that's going to happen. You bought the previous 2 patches, and the 3rd patch is coming out shortly. So it's very well timed that, because the 3rd patch follows a theme without me leaking, because I'm a terrible leaker. It follows a theme.
I'm literally sitting here hovering over the red release button. As soon as this thing goes up in any way, I will let you know. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just me coming here on the stream.
That's right. You see, Adrian's got the power to do it as well, Alex. It's amazing, really. There's no introductions needed. But that was Adrian, boys and girls. Adrian joining us because we're going to bring in out this IFT3 merch. And I was mentioning it includes the IFT3 patch done by Pauline, which is amazing. Again, it follows the theme of the first and the second one in like a proper storytelling. I'm saying too much already, aren't I? Yes, I'll be careful. I am a terrible leaker. I tend to be a tattletale because that's what a journalist does in life. It is a tattletaling, and I can't help myself. So I'll quickly move on to more questions. All right. Here's a question from Unbaggable, which is a great name. Can the chopsticks move any faster than they use them currently? I see how they could catch boosters, but how slowly do they move? Right. So basically, we're talking about the chopstick speed. First of all, the speed for lifting. I think we've seen them go quite fast recently. We were looking the other day, weren't we, Ryan Weber, at the speed of them. It was quite a fast lift. But for the catch during a landing, will that be a different setting where they need to maneuver a lot faster to be aligned with the booster during its last final burn because it's hovering and then catch it? How do you perceive the chopsticks working in that respect? Will it be faster, or will the booster be there basically saying, I'm sitting here, I'm fine, I've got my engine firing, catch me on your own time, you're fine?
They can move pretty quickly. You have to also remember that basically those will be in the full deploy launch position around middle ship height. The rocket will launch, and then as soon as it launches, they will then have to move into place for catch, which is what, like 8-9 minutes they have to do that, and they can move them relatively quickly. I don't think that'll be an issue. The one thing we do not know is if the newer smaller arms, or stubby arms as we want to call them, I don't know if those can move faster. They probably can, because there's a decent amount less weight on them. So I'd be kind of impressed to see if these are actually used for a catch. They may try to use these for some initial catches, but I think it'll be the stubby ones that'll really be used for catching going forward.
I did see a in principle comment from Ryan Caton in the back room about the speed at which they come down. Do we think the actual, that's where we get the caveat here, is we see them lifting, we see them obviously slowly lowering because that needs to be done slowly. Do we think they can come down because of gravity and things like that? Do you think they can come down quite fast?
Gravity is obviously going to be on the chopstick side when they're coming down the tower. I mean, that's just a given, right? So in terms of like an electricity bill for the hydraulic systems and whatnot, I mean, that's going to be a lot cheaper coming down than going up.
Let's wait a minute.
Ryan,
Did they go down slightly? I think they went down slightly.
Did it go down? Ryan, what are you doing to us?
I'm not doing anything. It just went down slightly. Hey,
okay.
I'm not controlling it.
Wrong way. Maybe the control panel's upside down. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, it has to come down slightly. That's fine. That's fine. We can deal with that as long as it doesn't go down completely to the stand and then gets hooked up and the pressure plate goes back on and the lines go back on and everyone sort of like turns up and goes, right, okay, let's do some more painting or something, because we want to see this thing stacked. We want to see a full stack again. Full stack is an impressive sight. if you're a member, by the way, which a lot of you now become because of the Red Team gifted memberships, amazing pictures from Sean and Mary in the membership area. Really cool ones. And in fact, Ryan Webber, you've got an article in draft waiting to go on when they get back to full stack, including the headline image from Mary, which is one of my favourite ones. When I saw them coming out, I actually pointed out Mary. I said, that's amazing. That is amazing. It really is an amazing picture of the full stack. So we want that full stack back again because that would then fit the theme of the article, which is about full stack and what comes next. Hopefully,
they're going
that's happening.
down.
Yeah, they're going down.
Here's a thought.
Yeah.
Here's a thought, just to not make people go nuts. What if they're testing the ship side of the connections by lowering it down on the stand?
That's also a possibility, yeah. Lower it down, make sure things connect. If they do, unhook it and stack.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's entirely possible.
Alex always comes out with the good theories that actually make sense compared to what I was thinking.
Well, Alex is smarter than us, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true. Also, how long do you think they will take to do this, where they decide, well, that all worked out quite well, let's now stack the thing on the booster tent? Because I know there's people in chat on our time zones that said they can't wait along any longer, they have to go to bed now. I'm hoping we're going to get some potential positivity about this full stack coming. Do we know how long? I'm sure we'll be guessing it will be for them to test this back on the stand. That looks good. Let's now send it and stack it.
Well, it's almost back on the stand right now. My guess is it'll sit down on the stand. They'll engage the clamps. If we see the stabilizers come off, then we know we're in a. If the stabilizers never come out, then we're good. But if the stabilizers come out, then, well, lift isn't happening. But you have to also remember that they did remove the press lines and the press plate. If they could have easily kept those hooked up while they did all this. So I think their end goal is to stack it one way or the other. So
I like that, Ryan. I like that a lot because you're right. You first of all assumed they didn't need to take any of the lines off, did they? Didn't need to at all.
No.
I mean, they've only raised it literally like a foot, if anything. And obviously, once they're back on the stand, if the stabilizer and the pin stay in, that means they're still in that position to lift the thing onto the booster. So let's stay hopeful. Let's have positive thoughts in chat, please, because I need them as well. Yeah, I really need them right now. While we're doing that, I did have another return to the all-in-one-piece nose cone, and two mentions of the gigapress that Tesla use. Would there be such a thing as a gigapress that could do a nose cone? I'm not too savvy on the Tesla factory situation. I don't know if any of you are, Ryan or both Ryans, Ryan Webber or Ryan Caton, on what that gigapress is like at Tesla. Is it pretty much just a car size? Because I'm the nose cone would be bigger, won't it?
I
don't know.
Yeah. I haven't followed this that much.
I'm sure we've got some Tesla factory fans in chat.
Yeah.
Is there the potential for such a gigapress that could make a nose cone in one piece? Remember, one piece, the entire nose cone in one piece. I'm seeing lots. It's huge. Yes, we know it's big because it builds cars, but we're getting a few no's now as well. It's not big enough.
Yeah.
Could they build a gigapress that could do it, and would that be even viable? Because I'm sure it costs many millions.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking basically a massive sheet of steel. That's like, I think those nose cones are. Well, actually, to be honest, we don't truly know what the thickness of nose cones are. I think they're around 4 millimeters. You're talking like, say, 4 millimeter thick stainless steel sheet, big enough to that when you press it, it goes into a full nose cone, and then you have to kind of shave it off and make it into a nose cone. That'd be pretty big. Especially, you're talking a sheet that would, we could do the math for it. But like, I don't know. It'd be pretty big to do.
The circumference of Starship at its widest point is just shy of 30 meters, so we're talking about a big honking piece of steel here.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Very good. And chat was very split. We could have done a poll. We'd have 50-50 poll again. But there we go. Mr. Ryan Caton, we covered this earlier, but we've had a lot more people join since. Surprisingly so, because it's gone down. We've had a lot of people join since, asking questions such as, is it possible for Starship to launch this month? Now, the question there is it possible, rather than do we expect it?
In principle, potentially.
In principle.
That's Ryan Caton's favourite word today, by the way.
But, you know, we need to be, I know nobody likes this, but we need to be realistic. We need to think about the regulatory side of things. I know. But with the statement that Adrian received from the FAA last week, SpaceX, at that point, SpaceX still hadn't submitted their end of the mishap investigation to the FAA to be verified. So SpaceX is clearly still working on stuff. They may have submitted it since then. I don't think we've got a statement from the FAA since last week. So they might have done it by now, but as of last week, they haven't submitted that yet, which leads me to believe that February is very, very, very unlikely. March is a safe bet as it stands, in my opinion.
Very good. A nice, not even a question, but I'm going to read it out anyway. Shake the Grave Records ironically goes against the music that was playing on the previous stream by saying this is way more interesting with commentary, as I might learn something new every day, so I tune in with NSF. Thank you very much for your kind comment there. I'm sure that was a reference to the music that was played on the previous stream. The idea being there was we didn't want to have commentators having to talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, because it's not easy. You lose your voice and things like that. So Kevin Michael Reid decided to play some tunes, some copyright-free tunes, I would add, which also made it quite upmarket furniture store music more than anything else. But a lot of people enjoyed it when it went a bit metal. But that was not something we do regularly, by the way. That is just a rare thing where we thought, well, let's have something noise-wise. And people had the option to mute the stream and have SBL with its basically random sounds from Starbase playing at the same time. So there was options there, but that's something we don't do often and not really part of our future plans. So don't be concerned if you're not a fan of that sort of thing. I'll give you a comment though, because that's a really nice comment to go with it. 1979 Camaro's back, asking if they were to add a payload for the weight, how and what would they use? Also, come on, Jack, real men wear a kilt, don't let us down. Okay, yeah. Jack's kilt render has certainly ignited the imagination of many people. Not to Jack's pleasure, I would add. Yeah, luckily Jay will not have an image of that on standby. I say very carefully because Jay might now be looking for it. Well, we would have to show Jack in a kilt. There's more people there, by the way. There's people on the right-hand side. Will they please leave? Please, workers. It's 7:37 p.m. local time. You can go home now. It's fine. Just leave it to the chopsticks and the chopstick operator. They'll take it from there. You can leave now. It's time to go home, lads. Thank you. As far as the question, what would they use? Because the fun thing is, we have talked about the potential of just their own company satellites, which are Starlinks. That makes sense. It's their payloads. They can do what they want with them, and they could use that for a real-life test. But let's, for a fun exercise, shall we say? Shall we use the example of the first Falcon Heavy launch, where they went from the ball of steel with the ball of cheese. Sorry, I've got steel on the head. The ball of cheese with the Dragon debut, to the Tesla Roadster with the Falcon Heavy maiden flight, which was really cool, by the way. If they were going to go down that path of a fun payload, what would your fun payload be? And chat, you can join in with this. Ryan Caton, what would be your fun payload?
Oh, it's me. So I'm going to have to think of something quintessentially British. I mean, from Elon's perspective, Cybertruck 100%. I think we can all agree on that. I'm trying to think of something like really.
You keep thinking, Mr. Ryan Caton, while I read out some of the questions, some of the points from chat, because I do like to make this interactive, and that's really cool. Someone is suggesting Hopper. Now that'd be amazing. I don't know if that's viable, but imagine Hopper finally gets to go to space. That would be a wonderful send-off. I do think Hopper is part of the establishment now. I doubt they'll ever take Hopper away from the launch site, even if they need the space, which I don't think they do. But I think Hopper is an establishment part of the Starbase launch site, and rightly so. But imagine just one final ta-da into space after the 150 meter hop, it gets sent into orbit. That'd be amazing. Other people are saying Bacon. That's obviously a Jack fan. Cybertruck is obviously winning. No surprise there. That would be nice synergy with the Falcon Heavy maiden launch with the Tesla Roadster, and it would be quite a real cool thing to do. It'd be we've seen them do the adverts where they did filming around Starbase with a Cybertruck pulling a Raptor vac, which was really cool, and they used that in a release brochure, release materials when they launched Cybertruck for general sale. And I must admit, I'm one of the people, when I first saw the presentation of Cybertruck, I was like, not sure I like this. Now I love it, so it's grown on me big time, and I think it is a real cool vehicle. It'll look very out of place driving to the supermarket in York, but I still want one if I ever win the lottery. So that's something where it's grown on me. Let's go through other ones here. Truckload of bangers. Right, okay. I assume you mean sausages, because that's what I'm hoping, at least. Tesla highway tractor. That's another thing. Tesla's bringing out a Tesla Semi, aren't they? So that would be more fitting for the kind of like, well, rather than going to a Cybertruck, we went to a Tesla Semi because it's Starship. It's got the capability of lifting such a heavy payload. That might be a key thing to do there. Ryan, have you thought of something up?
It would just, I think, fit within the payload bay of Starship. I'm going to say an AEC Routemaster bus.
Oh, my word. There we go. Mr. Ryan Weber.
I have some unfortunate news, Chris. One of the stabilizers is out.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Well, that might still go back in again.
Well, it could, but it also means that they're not exactly close unless they needed to take the stabilizers out for I don't know, for the checks that they need to do, but I really don't know.
Shall I just quickly say, stick around, because I think we'll still do the IFT3 merch link. I think we can't hold it back any longer, so don't go anywhere. Don't turn that dial. Even though we're not calling this off or anything like that yet, it's not imminent, that's all we'll say. But I think, Adrian, we should do the merch release, and you can override me, you can overrule me, because you are merch supremo on this thing, if we're going to decide to do it or not. But I would say stick around, because that's the whole idea of this stream, is to release the IFT3 merch. Adrian, call in Adrian. Adrian, come in, Adrian.
Ring, ring.
Give me a few minutes.
Very good. Yes, it's happening, boys and girls. We're going to release it. That's something that's almost like a prize for sticking around, because it's been a long stream already without anything happening. So we're going to do the merch release.
Before Adrian does that release, SpaceX sometimes has me. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's the Pedro Pascal GIF where he's kind of laughing and everything, and then he goes into crying. That's kind of like how I feel right now with SpaceX and lifting these vehicles. Just kind of like, come on.
Yeah. Let's do some thanks while Adrian is pushing buttons in the background. Ronald Walker has gifted 5 red team memberships. Thank you, Ronald. Very much appreciated. It's not a massive stream yet, because if we're not lifted it, the people will start rising in when we start lifting things. That's what usually happens. But there's still 4,500 people in here, so that's really impressive. Hugs and kisses for NSF comes from Mimi John. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. John Dopnicker, fun payload, Mr. Bean's Mini Cooper. Yes. That'd be fun. That'd be very fun indeed. Well, there we go. And the question from Jack Wells, which is very much on topic, because we're planning to do this now. Jack Wells asks, if they have bought the stack tonight, are you still going to release IFT3 merch? Yes, we are. I don't think it'd be fair to say let's delay it yet again because we did full stack. I think it's fair enough now that we think, after the previous delay, we promised we'd do it on the stream. Whatever SpaceX does with the actual stacking, I think we should do it anyway. Adrian,
maybe
I believe
SpaceX are waiting for the patch.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what SpaceX are doing. Elon really wants his patch, so that's what he's waiting for. Yeah.
Well, if he really wanted this patch, he'd be lifting the vehicle, wouldn't he? Because that's what the whole plan was.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. I've got a funny feeling SpaceX are not waiting for the patch release. Just saying. You never know.
Maybe that's why they haven't... Actually, new theory, they haven't lifted yet because all the workers at Starbase are watching the stream on their phones. They're constantly refreshing shop.nasaspaceflight.com to wait for the patch to come out. That's why the ship hasn't lifted yet.
Yeah, that even on the realms of realism, I don't think I can go with that. The irony is that we are on Starbase Live. It's on the big screens. Not all of them, obviously, but the several big screens
Okay,
at Starbase.
everybody.
Oh, hello, hang on. Mid-sentence.
Sorry, I'm just because I already see people discovering it.
Oh, right.
So I have to interrupt here. I believe so. You kind of get the situation here for the release. We initially planned it for like when the full stack here happens again, but with this dealing it more, it's more like a let's show it to everybody who's decided to stick out with us here at till 8. Then it just lift again.
They're playing with us.
That's
now.
what that's what I said. They'll lift the ship when it's when the patch comes out.
Okay. Either way, I think Kevin, we are. It's time to show this patch designed by Pauline here. Our third flight patch for Starship. There you go. There it is. I think it's
so good.
Absolutely magnificent. It kind of continues our storytelling here, because the first one was all about liftoff. The second one was like in flight. Now we are having ship in flight here. And you can now get that at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Not only that, also t-shirts, hoodies, everything. So everything should be out here. And as I'm looking at everything here, but we have released our third flight patch. And I really hope you all like it.
Do we have a link that I could pin, maybe in chat? Maybe you'd want to write it.
I can give you a link here.
Oh, hang on.
I'm going to spam it for you. I'll spam the collection for everyone in chat.
Ryan's using his power. The power of defeating
Nightbot doesn't care about me.
No, it doesn't care, no.
No.
I'll do a pin one as well. See, I'm not very good at sales, but I'll just put IFT merch and put the link. It's out! There we go. That's more like it. Well done, Chris. All right. Oh, no.
Oh, it's a mug.
Oh, look. We're looking around.
Mug.
Oh, it's the big mug. Everyone was asking for the big mug. Because our mugs were small, apparently, because Americans love big mugs. And I like big mugs too. So I was like, oh, we got big mugs, please. That is a super...
We've got water bottle.
Yeah. Super-sized mug, but onto the water bottle as well. We've got everything on it. Merch and everything. It's really cool.
You can put your water bottle on the table as well with some plants. Look at
that. Yes. I wonder whose table that was. We took the photograph.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got a little mug as well. Oh, I've got the hoodie as well. It's got different colours. Look at that. Beautiful.
That's cool. By the way, I've got loads of these hoodies. The NSF hoodies, and it's the same hoodie, but obviously with the patch on. And they are so comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of hoodies.
We now have an orange t-shirt.
It's orange.
I think I know a certain Jack buyer who will be purchasing that one in vast quantities.
Yeah, so if you go to the shirt there, that should have an orange version.
Oh,
it's orange.
That is a Jack Buyer t-shirt. A Bayer, I should say. It's orange. It does look good orange as well. It's a really nice patch that works in several colours.
There we go. That's what I asked
play that
Kevin
a few times,
do.
Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, can we
we just keep showing that. Yeah, keep showing the transition. I love the transition.
Keep pressing the button for me, Kevin. There you go. You can admire my animation there.
Ryan did this the other day, by the way. It's so cool.
And again, we're sorry for the delay here. It literally came down to the fact that Mark and I were in the bed. And we wanted to make sure that the whole system works and nothing breaks. So that's the situation here. But now I'm here and looking at all of you and everything going great here.
We could talk a little bit longer because I've just seen about 5,000 store messages. So it's doing very well.
That's what I was going to say. I just opened up the panel and there's a flood of store purchasers' messages in here.
Right. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm glad the two views we've got here now are not going to get merch pied, because we're going to get a lot of merch pies showing up. I'm going to read these out fast as I can because a lot of them are quite short, so that's good. Anonymous, who was asking about it, has done 3 messages here. First, yay, let's go. You were first, Anonymous. You were first because you're top of my queue here. And yes, Nathan says shoe stabilizer shoe. Dan says third for my collection. with 3 messages, so you must have got all 3 there, or got 3 of the same ones. But that's amazing. You guys rock. Thank you very much. Finally, patch 3. Go SpaceX, go Starship. Watching you all, Michael says. Joshua, thanks for all you do. What should I do with my patch? Actually, let's answer that. What do people normally do with patches? Do they put them on the run? The actual patch itself we're talking about now, which is the material one. Do they put it on a flight jacket? Do they put it on presentation on their wall? What do usually people do?
I have one on my backpack of each flight. So I have one of flight 1, one of flight 2, and then one of flight 3. And I have one clean version that I keep on my wall of every flight. That's what I do.
Very good. Michael says, love watching you all with a purchase. Thank you very much. William, patch. That's all he says, patch. So he's gone to the store, he's got the patch, he's had the option to write a long message if he wanted to, and just put patch, exclamation mark. I love that, that's cool. Woo, patch now. When launch, says Trent. Yeah, we're all waiting for that. We need to lift the thing first, do a wet dress rehearsal at least to get the FAA through. Bill says, just place the order, great work by all. Thank you, Bill. Another anonymous ones are the ones people, you've got the option of not having your name read out. Obviously, you're in a store, you don't need to put your name in for the message. Third time's a charm, Orbitish, let's go. Bastian says, fine, I will stay awake for the 3rd patch. This is going to be my lab coat. On my lab coat. That's amazing. So obviously, somebody who works in a laboratory there is going to have it on display during work. There we go. Ryan says first, unfortunately you were, but thank you for your support, much appreciated. I'm putting these on screen fast as I can, by the way. I'm just clicking on the panel thing, so if you see it come up on the bottom of the view, hopefully your eyes will be taken away by this chip being lifted, but there's people back on it now, so hopefully this is still final work. We're not classing this as off yet, we're just waiting for it still. Anthony, thanks again for the new patch, looking forward to receiving it in Sheffield, UK. Chef, nice one, Anthony. Just down in South Yorkshire from me, where I'm in York, in North Yorkshire. Jason, add into the collection. Keep up the great work, guys. Jenna, great, amazing work. James says, new patch, I see Mars. Can we bring the patch back up again? If that's possible, please.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about
People
my
are
favorite.
finding Easter eggs. Easter eggs.
Kevin, just press the stinger button a few times for us.
Is that what it's called, Ryan? Stinger
That's called, it's called a stinger transition. So.
Yes.
Oh.
So that Easter egg with the moon and Mars has started for, I think, on the Destination Known merge we did earlier. That was a thing Pauline added, which we found very delightful. And since then, we have kind of added it from time to time to other merge items. It's a reoccurring theme we are doing here. And also, maybe to point that also out, the manufacturing method we are using for this patch is the same as the second patch. So if you already have the second patch of us, it's very similar in the way it's done in terms of quality and thickness and everything. Also to point that out. And also my voice is kind of going here, so see you later.
I just thought of
Thanks, Adrian.
I just thought of a disclaimer, which I should probably say here. When your patch arrives, it won't animate like the transition. I just want to make that clear.
Let's see if people catch all of the little things on the patch, but also the animation.
Everyone's going to be rewinding by 5 seconds now.
Right, I'm not going to keep up with these. I'm going to do as fast as I can. Amanda says, guys, this is my 3rd patch. Thank you, Amanda. Great collection you've got there. Bideford, finally, it's fantastic. Thank you, Bideford. Up you go, says Jim. With the purchase of a patch, using it to beckon the ship to rise. And Nick says, thank you to everybody at NSF for their continued hard work, entertaining the masses. Much love from the UK. Thank you, Nick. And you got 3 there, it looks like, because I've got several messages from you, and that is great support. Thank you. Andrew says, you guys are awesome work. Thank you. Anonymous, beautiful. Another one saying, great patch. Now I'll have them all. So people are collecting them. That's really cool. Martin's collecting them all as well. Anthony asks for when Jack in a kilt. It's never going to get away from this. Oh, wait. Whose idea was that? Because it's sticking. Michael with a pumpkin. So the orange obviously was purchased there. Samuel, this will make a fine addition to my collection. Quote quiz. Isn't that from Star Wars. Help me out, Ryan. Ryan.
General Grievous.
General Grievous. There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Love you guys. It says thank you very much. Send the bus, says Anonymous.
Another fine addition to my collection.
Was that when he took a lightsaber from Skywalker?
Uh-huh.
There we go, right. I knew it. I've seen it. I just can't remember the name of the villain in it. There we go. I usually very good at movie quizzes, by the way, so that's why I was kind of like, well, it is late. It's now 2 o'clock in the morning. David, yay, thank you. I've been wanting a tall mug ever since my shuttle mug broke. The tall mug was absolutely requested, so we finally got it in now via this release. Thank you to all involved in the store, Adrian, Pauline, and Mark, for making this happen, because I know that I'm the same. I like my big mugs. I'm not one for like sipping on a small mug. I like big mugs and filling the thing and going for it, because that's what I'm like. So I appreciate people who are going to enjoy that large mug. I think I am the first one to buy a patch and say hi to EJSA. Well, you're the first one to say hi to EJ during the purchase of this first release, so well done. Connor loves it. Thank you, Connor. Joyce, go for the lift. Also send Doctor Who and the TARDIS Space. Love the coverage. Thank you very much. Wesley, love it. NSF on a Monday night. Love design. Daniel says stack, 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 fly, fly, fly. People just using this message thing, and I don't blame them. It's cool. I'm going to read it out. I care. This patch is my favourite. Thank you to all the NSF crew. Thank you, Thomas. Impressive, very nice. OFT3 exclamation mark. Love the patch, and I want to see more big tall shirts. That's something we'll send on to the store too. I love the patch. I want to see more big tall. That's the same one I just read out. So you got 2 of them. That's why. Great coverage, guys, and thanks from South Texas and Harlingen. Thank you very much. That rings a bell, actually. I don't. Is there something in Harlingen that? Oh, it's the airport, isn't it? There's an airport. You can get Starbase there. Yes. That's it.
Yeah,
I knew I'd heard that place before.
Yeah, Harlingen is one of the airports that we recommend you fly into if you ever want to come and see a launch. And there's a DAS video you can see about that, because Brownsville Airport is much smaller, which means the hire cars tend to run out faster.
There we go.
The more you know.
The more you know. Robert, thank you. Lonnie, thank you. Patch for the wall. Love the patch, says Brad. Rick, RC Horseman here, got one. Thank you very much, RC Horseman. You're an amazing supporter, by the way. Thanks for all the coverage from Eric, who bought himself one as well. Ordered mine, thank you. This is amazing. There's so many of these. I am clicking on them, and the scrolling bar is getting longer. I'm never going to keep up with this, but luckily nothing's happening at Starbase, so I'm going to keep reading them out. I would not normally do this. If something was happening, I'd do a few and go back to coverage, and do a few and go back to coverage. So forgive me for this. I am not just basically being a store salesman here. These are people who have literally got the patch, and merch related to it as well, by the way, I'd add. And I'm going to read them out while nothing's happening, so bear with me. Martin, it's out. Thank you for everything. And that is V2MX in our Discord. I recognise your name. Thank you very much, Martin. That is crazy support there, because I'm clicking on several of yours here. Lots and lots. Thank you, folks. I got my patches for IFT 1, 2, and today ordering 3. There we go. Imagine if this collection gets to about 10 and then 20, because I know from my own experience there's many people who got all the shuttle patches. 135. And yes, including the 2 unfortunate ones as well. I say unfortunate, disastrous ones. So let's not sugarcoat it at all. And shuttle patches were a real cool thing. And we've really taken that kind of like methodology of making a patch look really cool. Because there are some shuttle patches that didn't look all that good. I'll be the first to say it. And some which looked amazing. So we always thought, well, let's make them amazing. That's where Pauline came in and did an amazing job with that.
Yeah, just and to just echo this again, there's always of course the side of like all of us here brainstorming the idea, but in the end it all comes down to Pauline making the idea happen, right? Like it's a process where in the end she delivers something amazing here, and I can tell you we have already started some brainstorming for a potential 4th flight, because they are getting faster and faster, so we have to get faster and faster. So yeah, it's there's a lot more. And I also, just to address something here, yes, if the 17 fluid ounces mark is well received here, we will also make sure to include a few more of that, maybe for some evergreen collections.
What on earth is a fluid ounce?
I was told that's what OZ stands for.
Okay then. I don't
Pints.
understand.
Pints.
It's some
these
imperial
American
units that
units.
nobody uses. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We've had at least an event as such on this stream. We are still hoping they will lift Ship 25. Ship 20. Ship 25? That's gone now. That's
Here we
no
go.
longer with us. Rest in peace, Ship 25. Ship 28 on Booster 10. We're hoping it will still happen. They're obviously doing a lot of work on this to make sure to get it right this time. But I'm going to hand over the reins now to the very capable Trevor Sesnick, who I believe has just joined us, Trevor.
Yes, hello.
Very good. If you would like to take over hosting duties, I'm going to put my head in a bucket of water and pray to the lift gods that this thing gets lifted. So take it away, Trevor. Thank you.
Will do. The first thing that I have to say is for those of you in Europe, a fluid ounce is a unit of volume, and an ounce is a unit of mass. It is atrocious, and this is why we should just use the the metric system. So,
Trevor coming in hot.
yeah, I mean, we just gotta that's all I need to say about that horrible system. Anyway, let's get on to some of your guys' questions. So, let's see. I see, whoa, a bunch of people are buying the patch. I'm glad you guys love this. Holy cow. Outdoor Snow Show is asking, any news on my question from Raptorside concerning other space agencies' thoughts on Starship? So yeah, Ryan, do we have any good indication of what other agencies are thinking of Starship and if they're afraid of it or whatnot? I guess I can go to either Ryan.
Yeah, either right. Oh, look, we have a Raptor test. It's McGregor. And it shuts off. Kevin with the surprise. Anyways, I think the main reaction, I don't know if we've had any public reaction, at least nothing I can remember off the top of my head. But I think the main reaction has been mostly the reaction to Falcon 9 of a lot of people are starting to develop reusable launch vehicles. Because it's kind of hard to make a rocket that'll compete with something like Starship. The only country or entity I know of that's doing something along those lines would be China. Russia says they're trying, but Roscosmos doesn't really have any money to do it, so they can't really do that. But it's really hard to come up with something that would compete with it. I don't think they would be like mad with it or anything like that. I mean, it's kind of it's helpful for all of space community to have something like Starship operational. You know, it helps everyone as a whole. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we have seen, as you were saying, more, if anything, more competition on the Falcon side of things. We've seen, several companies, both in the United States and even in China, submit plans for partial reusability, correct, Mr. Caton?
Sorry? I may or may not be going through the shop right now, so I may or may not have been paying attention. I do apologise, everybody.
No, as the editor of TWIS, can you just tell us about some of the partially usable rockets from other organizations aside from SpaceX?
I mean, in the US, we have a certain Blue Origin who are getting ever closer to the maiden flight of their bigger rocket, New Glenn. And then across the Pacific Ocean in China, we have a plethora of private companies and state-affiliated companies that are working on kind of Falcon-looking-esque vehicles. A big prominent one which we featured last week or the week before, trying to remember, is UK3 from Land Space, which is very, very, very similar to Falcon 9. If you squint, you might even say identical. But the difference is, I don't believe it's going to be Keralox. I think it's going to be Methalox, similar to the Zuke 2, which was, of course, the first rocket, methane and liquid oxygen powered rocket to make it to orbit ever. So certainly exciting, reusable stuff coming out of not only GAN space but also China as a whole.
Yeah, it's also been cool seeing all of these Chinese companies prepare for that. As you would know, since you're working on a video for it right now, we've seen, 3 hopper-like vehicles.
3?
Is it 2 or 3?
2 or 3? 2 or 3. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I tell you, I'm trying to make a video here about all of these different hoppers, and then I'm not joking here. Every 3 or 4 days, either Alex or Adrian or Harry pings me, and it's another Chinese hopper. I secretly enjoy it.
You love it.
It's another hopper, and I swear I've lost count. It's 6. It's over 6 or 7 at this point, which I've now had pinged at me, telling me to make.
There's so many of them.
There is so many. 2 or 3 covers like maybe 2022 or 2023. There are so many hopping over the last few weeks and months, and in the future as well. It's just, there is no way I can describe this because the cadence.
And there's more
variety
to come in the future.
Exactly. There's so many different hoppers. Harry just tagged me in chat saying there will be more. I know there will be.
Yeah.
Hi, Harry.
Hello, Harry. I hope you're enjoying the blue news today. Yeah. Anyway, for those who may just be joining us, Ryan, including myself, who may have been doing homework since the stream started, could you fill us in as to where we are? And, I see people around the base of the vehicle in a lift up, so any indications on what milestones are left until we see SpaceX attempt to stack the vehicle again?
So, unfortunately, since we have gone live, SpaceX has gone backwards. They have since lowered the vehicle all the way down onto the stand. Before, we thought they were hovering, but they only had it on blocks. They lifted it up, removed the blocks, lowered it all the way on the stand, probably hooked it in with the hook system, and then the stabilizers also went out. There's currently a lift up near where the QD is. Do not know exactly what they're doing. The crane for the press plate is not currently at the launch site, as far as I know. So there is that good news. Hopefully they're just checking things out, and then they'll hook everything back up and go for a lift. That's what we're hoping for here. Otherwise, we might be in for another marathon here.
SpaceX has been loving giving us ample time to stream, at least. All right. Going back to some of your guys' questions, reminder, if you have any, you can tag us in chat with @NASA Spaceflight, and then your question will get added to some fancy software, and that'll allow us to ask it. Like this question from Kino, which I see about Falcon 9, my love, saying development of Falcon 9 had 5 versions to each of its to reach its final design. How many versions do you think Starship will have to reach the definitive final model of it? Ryan, Keaton, how many iterations of Starship do you think we'll see?
I mean, I think it's safe to say Falcon 9 definitely didn't stop after 5 versions, because V1...
Way more than 5 versions.
Way more.
Here comes Alex. V1, quote-unquote, of Falcon 9, that's just the first version that launched. And now we look at Block 5. Block 5 has had so many different variations and upgrades and a better understanding of the vehicle, which allows them to fly it more efficiently. I mean, they now have mission extension kits, which allows them to keep the cryogenic prop cooler when they're in space on the second stage. They have the God forbidden stubby nozzle now on Falcon 9, which they didn't have when they originally started flying Block 5. The kind of block upgrades of Falcon 9 has also been branded a bit weirdly, so there's also that to talk about, but Falcon 9 overall has had way more than 5 versions, which means inevitably I'm going to say Starship will also have way more than 5 versions, because at this point in time, each different ship number in my opinion, could count as a different subversion because they are incrementally upgrading every single ship and booster as they go along in production. I mean, even just one thing aesthetically to point out, look at the heat shields as we went through the vehicles. They're getting so much smoother aesthetically.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out that, as Alex chimed in, there have been way more than 5 even blocks of Falcon 9. So what we call Falcon 9 Block 5 now is just the 5th block of Falcon 9 V1.2. So before those 5 blocks, there was Falcon 9 V1.0, which I believe launched 4 or 5 times, something like that. And that was the one that had, 5 times. That was the one that had the tic-tac-toe pattern in the engine compartment. And then they did the upgrade to V1.1, and that had 2 blocks in it. And then, like I said, V1.2 has had 5 blocks. So just there, that's 8 blocks. And then we know that there have been tons of, minor upgrades in between, which are called sub-blocks. And we have no idea how many of those there have been, but we can see John Edwards, I believe, tweeted that on some of the newer boosters they added self-leveling landing legs, and then have been pushing that retrofit out to the entire fleet. So Falcon 9 has had a lot of iterations, and that's. Go ahead.
My question is what do you consider a version? So like, if we consider like significant changes, like changes to the like thrust puck, engine number, or other things like that, then all right, well, I mean, if you consider, say, SN8 a version of Starship, so that would be your hot version of Starship, where you didn't even have mounts for the RVACs. And then you go up to Ship 20. Ship 20 had RVAC mounts, but its heat shield was kind of There was a lot of differences along that vehicle, and basically even Ship 24 was a different version from Ship 20. There was a significant number of changes. And even between Ship 24 and Ship 28 would be a different version. So at this point, you're already at like 3 or 4 versions of Starship. And Elon coming with a V2, I mean, I would consider that like V6 at this rate. Like, I don't really know if there's a good way to say versions at this point. More is just revisions, and they've done the same thing with Falcon, as you guys are talking about. Is they've made a lot of small changes over time, even to like Block 5, and it's hard to. It's still kind of Block 5, I guess, but there's still a lot of changes that they make to all of them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even on Falcon, look no further than when Block 5 first started flying, the advertised reusable maximum payload capacity to low Earth orbit, I believe, was about 15 tons. And then the initial Starlink missions were 15.6 tons. And now the Starlink missions are nearing 18 tons. We don't know the exact mass, but no matter what, it's substantially higher. But anyway, it looks like the lift is moving away from the vehicle, but there are still, obviously, as we can see on the screen, many people under the vehicle. So keep an eye out on that.
And as we discovered earlier, the ship was actually set down on blocks when it appeared to be lifted, like being held by the chopsticks ever so slightly. It wasn't. It was actually set down on blocks. So it's kind of being rumoured at the moment that they can only work under the ship when it's actually set down, not when it's being held by chopsticks, or they're only meant to work under the ship when it is sat down. So that's the reason they may be trying to kind of make sure that the ship actually fits into the clamps on the transport stand, so they know it will fit on the booster.
Right. So are the stabilizers in at this point?
No, they brought those out. So when they brought the ship all the way down, it looks like they brought it down, they let the clamps basically go in. It's like a metal plate with like a lip on it, and then it just kind of like a little hook kind of goes in and then just kind of holds it that way is how it works. They put those in, took the stabilizers out, and I think they also took weight off of the chopsticks. So basically the ship is sitting on the transport stand. I think they're just doing some final checkouts on stuff. They might be looking at those clamps, make sure everything's in good order, checking everything else, just making sure everything is good to go. And then we might see them clear out and do stuff like that. I do not know what the people on top of the OLM are doing. They could be looking at the hold down clamps down there. It's kind of hard to tell where they're at. They seem to be looking down towards the engine section up the OLM. I don't know what they're there for or not, but they have to be out of the way when they go ahead and stack. So we'll have to watch for everyone to leave here.
Right. And I just wanted to say real quick, as you guys have seen all of the store messages going across the screen, thank you all for this tremendous support. This is crazy, and I imagine for all of the people who worked hard on the patch, they're happy you guys are not only purchasing Flight 3's patch, but also I see a bunch of, there's Flight 2, and the one before that was Flight 1, so thank you all for your support.
Yeah, and these messages in here are still these purchases in here are 20 minutes old. So many of you bought it all at the same time that we're still churning through all of the different support messages from the store, which is just, we're going to try and get through all of them, but it may take a little while for your one to pop up.
Yeah, a good problem to have. Alrighty. So, let's see. Space Nerd is asking, when do you think they will attempt to land a starship at the launch site from orbit with belly flop and flip? And when do you think they'll try to catch a booster? Let's go around the horn, starting with you, Ryan C. Do you have any good idea of when those two events will happen?
I'm making this up. I think ship. I'm gonna do the same answer I did for the 9-engined ship. Actually, I'm gonna say in the 40s, ship 40s, maybe for a successful or at least a recovery attempt in the booster numbers. Boost. Maybe I'm gonna be optimistic. Maybe the late teens or the early 20s in terms of booster numbers. That's being very optimistic in my opinion, but that's my answer.
Right. Ryan? Other Ryan, sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of late teens and boosters, someone caught if we go by the aft sections that we've seen, it looks like they just sleeved the header tank for booster 16.
Wow.
I don't know why they're doing it outside though. Maybe SpaceX forgot to make the Star Factory tall enough. I don't know. But they've been sleeving those out. They've been sleeving those outside of Star Factory. You've seen like 3 of them, so it could be booster 16 at this rate. Which, that's pretty far ahead. Ship 42, just for the the fun of it, and then booster. Even though Ship 42 isn't even that far away, since we've seen the nose cone for Ship 37. Pull booster 20. Why not?
Booster 20 for a catch attempt?
That actually seems a little far away.
That's 600 Raptors. Not quite 600 Raptors, but
there's a lot away. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, let me revise that. I'll go with 14. Booster 14. Why not? Yeah. 14.
Boy, I hope it's sooner than that. Because how
No
long?
earlier than 16. It's my bad. I know
earlier
you're
than 16?
here, but yeah.
You're not here? Okay, Alex isn't here. Ignore him.
Alex has been the king of the last few days of half being on stream, so. But I guess, one of the important corollaries to this question is how long does it take SpaceX to produce both ship and booster at this point, since they're getting to the point where the limit to their cadence is likely going to be manufacturing rate, correct?
So, back in the tent era, it was a lot easier to track this kind of stuff. So, like, back then, it would be from, like, oh, and the SPMT lights just turned on.
I'm not gonna say the 4-letter words that rhymes with bowl. But that would be the exact opposite of what we want to see.
Now I guess we see for the did this become a, I'm gonna say it, this become a rollback stream?
I think we're gonna find out. But ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that in order to remove the blocks that ship 28 was sitting on, they did have to lift the ship up ever so slightly by a few centimeters. So we did today. It isn't clickbait. We did see a lift of ship 28.
Yeah, it isn't.
Only lasted about 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, if they're gonna move this out, the sticks will open. But I'm gonna go on what I was saying before. Back in the tent days, basically we, from like steel rolls going in to a vehicle ready for cryo was like, it was like 12 to 18 months at least, somewhere around there. And then it would be like another, it could easily be another 8 to 10 before it was ready for a flight, whether it was a hop or an actual launch. I don't know how quickly they can do it now since we can't see anything inside Star Factory, but I know they can stack a ship in about 30 days. And if they have everything, okay, I think it's the quickest is like 28 or something along those lines. Now with booster takes a little bit longer. I think the quickest they've done is about a month and a half, 2 months with booster. And that's just stacking. That's with all the sections complete. So it takes a while to build these vehicles, and then once it's stacked, they have to kit it out, install all the valves, the press lines, the raceway. On the ship, they have to finish the heat shield, and that's what's currently getting done with Booster 13 right now. It's been getting its press lines, the raceway, the chines. It's getting all that installed right now, and it takes a while to do all that. It takes a couple months, so not quick.
Yeah, especially on the booster, my understanding is that installing the Raptors, that plumbing, and all of the heat shielding is probably the slowest item at Starbase right now, so they're really trying hard to expedite. Alright, we'll see. It seems like we're having a little bit of buffering problems, but we seem to be back. Thank you for letting me know, Ryan. So now let's go back into some questions. From Asher, what's up? The question we all want to know. I've lost a bit tracking of stacking and destacking. Where do you think we're at in the testing flow? So Ryan C., if they stack tonight, what can we expect going forward? And if they don't stack tonight, what does that mean for the program?
Well, if they don't stack tonight,
are you Ryan C, Mr. Ryan W?
Oh, sorry, I'm getting confused.
This was inevitably, ladies and gents.
Yes.
This was going to happen. This was going to happen. Ryan, I'll let you answer anyway.
Okay. So, we knew this was going to happen at some point. So what they could be so if they don't stack tonight, it really depends on what they do with Ship 28. If Ship 28 just sits here, then I mean, well, they won't be able to do any full stack testing and whatnot and stuff like that. Here's the thing, though, it's not really holding back the program. That is, unless for some reason the FAA needs wet dress rehearsal with all the changes to the tank farm. I don't know if that is a part of it or not. It could very well be, very well not be. But if it isn't, it wouldn't really be holding them back per se, because there's still a lot of things where they're working around the launch site to finish, which they can still get done even if they don't stack it. If they are able to stack it, then of course they can move forward, get their testing done, and go from there. But I don't know if it would exactly cause a delay, but it would probably mean that it'd be hard to do any testing this week. And to add, the SPMT light's coming on. I mean, it could be for light, which would be kind of funny. But the other thing is with this stack, they might have had an alignment issue. So they may be slightly moving the ship so the chopsticks pick it up in a better way. Because they have to like place it perfectly in order for it to stack right. In order for the chopsticks to pick it up in the right way, and then when they translate it over, it has to be lined up just right. So that could be a reason. So we'll just have to wait and see here.
Yeah, and we saw on the stack, they kind of had a little bit of problems at first, seemingly aligning the vehicles, and then they had lifts around the interstage for most of yesterday, correct?
Yeah, they the night after the lift, they had a lift up near the interstage where they were looking at one of the clamps, and then that's when things were getting a little iffy. They took off the grounding wires, which they only take that off if they're going to destack or launch. Took those off, and then they destacked it, and then they were working on the hot stage ring clamps all day long, for a good chunk of the day at least. So
Interesting. Yeah, certainly weird stuff going on, but we'll be here bringing it to you live, figuring out what they're doing as we all get confused together. So yeah, okay, Alex recommended, or Ryan, British Ryan recommended British Ryan and Old Ryan to differentiate the Ryans. So we're
Ryan.
going with that. So British Ryan, Ken is wondering, do you think the loud noise heard on the previous stack did some damage to the ship / boosters / chopsticks?
It was certainly a very loud thunk noise that everybody heard, and if you haven't heard it, go and watch Starbase Update, which came out today, because we very much highlight that thunk in that video. It's louder than I've ever remembered it, you know? So it may have something to do with the pins and it all lining up, and maybe that wasn't such a good thing. Going into pure speculation mode, that could be what they're investigating right now underneath the ship. Oh, there's Jack, right underneath the ship. So yeah, I that thunk definitely might have been kind of the catalyst for what we're seeing right now. I'm really hoping that there isn't like serious damage to the ship, and from what we've seen so far, it doesn't really look like that. I mean, it even though they've turned the SPMT lights on, I mean, a rollback would be completely unexpected at this point. So yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that they can stack this thing tonight.
I think that we all are. But yeah, it's worth noting that we have heard loud noises upon stackings before, but as British Ryan was saying, not quite that loud. Unfortunately, we don't know anything more than that. Steve is asking, could they be intending to roll 28 back and replace it with ship 26? I think this is probably Kevin's alt. But do we think ship 26 is a future at all, Old Ryan?
They can't stack it. They can put the shift pins in, but the stabilizers are removed. It cannot be stacked on top of a booster. So, yeah. Sorry, Kevin, but it can't be stacked.
So do we have any idea what they could be doing with ship 26?
Structural test article is my best guess.
Fair enough.
I'm afraid, everybody, there seems to be some horrible propaganda currently being spread by Mr. Kevin Michael Reed in the YouTube chat from
Indeed.
the official NSF account. I do have to say that we do not endorse his appreciation of Ship 26 whatsoever.
Yeah. Alrighty. GSLTM is asking, could it be going to suborbital pad for static fire? So, British Ryan, as you were saying, we're not expecting a roll tonight, correct?
That is not what was being indicated whatsoever before we went live. You know, everything was pointing towards a stack, right? And we kind of see these. Old Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but on the Cameron County website we see like rolling closures or short closures posted usually for rolls. Nothing like that, I don't believe, was posted. So, and I think the SPMT lights have just switched off, unless this is just a different angle.
Yeah, the lights are off, but it looks like the SPMTs are still on, but the main lights are off, I think, is what it's going on right now. So, yeah. I don't know. Who knows what's going on? It's SpaceX confused button, I guess, at this point.
They love hitting that confuse the media button.
They really do. We should all tweet Elon. Like, Elon, what's going on?
And it looks like we've got a poll in chat now saying, do you love or hate Ship 26? ? I feel like there should have been a passive option in there, a neutral option. But unfortunately, it looks like love is currently winning by 64%.
Oh, come on,
which is a great
guys.
shame. I mean, it's not representative whatsoever of Ship 26. I feel like there's some rigging going on here. It's gone up again. Oh my days.
Kevin.
Kevin Michael Reed. Oh man. Now the SPMTs are fully off, so who knows what's going on at this point anymore? Who knows?
Yeah. I see an interesting question here from Philbert asking, what are your thoughts on the weight differential of tidal versus non-tidal side? How might this affect flight characteristics? That's a very small difference. Right, we see even across the entire Earth's surface, the tidal force is only really enough to bulge out the ocean by a few meters, and that's acting on something as large as the ocean. So the tidal force is somewhat weird since it's proportional to, if I remember correctly, the difference in radius. So it's minimal. So I don't think SpaceX would even need to take it into consideration.
I'll tell you this: the thing that would hurt it, would do more to it, would be the possible lift provided by the flaps. Would probably make more of a difference than that. Yeah,
Definitely. Or even just atmospheric density on the day due to temperature.
Drag by the flaps or lift created by the flaps would probably have more of an effect on the flight characteristics than just the tile side versus non-tile side. But
yeah, tidal forces are so interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and review my physics notes after this live stream.
I think it was asking if the tile side of the ship, Trevor.
Yeah.
Wait, did it
was more weighty? I think you read that wrong.
Yeah, it said tiles. Trevor
Tiles.
has to go into a physics lesson whenever he can.
Yes.
They're asking about the tiles, not the tidal forces of the planet. So.
Listen, I see physics everywhere.
You dug that hole and you buried yourself in it, Trevor.
Yep. You started to go, and I'm like, should I interrupt him? Should I? No, let's let him go and see if he notices.
Let's see how fast this thing goes.
Yeah.
Well, I am sorry. Yes, tile, T-I-L-E, not T-I-D-A-L. So anyway, Ryan, does the tiles on the ship matter? I think the answer is still no.
Not really. I would expect that. It adds weight sure, but considering how much weight the vehicle itself is, it's not really that much. It won't make that much of a difference. You're talking about a vehicle alone. Let's see here. Starship fully fueled is in the realm of like 1,400 metric tons. It's not going to make that much of a difference to it.
Yeah, and like I've held a Starship tile. Obviously, there's thousands of them, but they're not heavy. They're very light for their size.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to questions that I can hopefully read correctly. Brenton is asking, can SpaceX sue China for copying Starship? So going back to what you were saying earlier about TWIS and all of the rockets that we've covered on that show, Ryan, is there anything that SpaceX can do to help protect their intellectual property, especially against companies that are overseas?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe that there is a thing known as ITAR, which is designed to stop this kind of technology being spread outside of the United States of America. So I would hazard a guess that ITAR intends to prevent information being shared instead of having to do something about it after the fact. So again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an expert in international law and how these things sort of work, but I feel like heavy inspiration, especially for Elon's goal of wanting to colonize Mars, is a better thing than a bad thing, because I'm very much of the impression that no single entity can do this by themselves. SpaceX is doing a tremendous job with Starship, but they still need support from NASA, and SpaceX is definitely going to be designing the transport to get you to Mars, but they're not necessarily designing what you'll do when you get there. So collaboration is going to be very important, and I believe collaboration from around the world is not a bad thing, and these kind of reusable rocketry designs, this is just the future. Falcon has proved that reusable rockets are the future, and it's the only way that these things can be like commercially viable. So I don't think that that inspired reusable rocketry is a bad thing.
I'd be more worried about closer to home companies stealing IP.
Yeah.
And it's not unheard of. Just look at the 90s with Boeing and Lockheed Martin. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the other thing that I think needs to be kept in mind is a lot of these decisions are just engineering trade-offs and following the one law that none of us can break, and that's the laws of physics. So it's not that surprising, at least to me, that after you look at all of the laws of physics and you decide, I want to put, around 15 tons or so into low Earth orbit in reusable configuration, it's not surprising that you end up with the Falcon 9 style vehicle. And the same is true for if you're looking at putting around 100 tons into low Earth orbit and you want it to be fully reusable, that you end up with a Starship style vehicle. And the one real exception to that is like Stoke Aerospace with their very different design.
Yeah, I'm going to try and put this into an analogy which made sense in my head thinking about it, but I'm not sure if it will make sense when I actually say it out of my mouth. Formula 1 teams all have to abide by the same regulations, and all of their cars look vaguely the same because they're all having to follow the same regulations to try and build the fastest car possible in order to win. Everyone likes winning, and in order to win with rockets, you need to build a rocket which is as efficient as possible whilst abiding by the laws of physics. And unlike the Formula 1 regulations, the laws of physics physically cannot be broken, so you need to optimize as much as you can. And it turns out that designs just end up being similar when you optimize for the same rules.
Yeah, we're all on the same planet, and gravity on this planet is the perfect, it's like just high enough to make full reuse possible without it being easy. Yeah, we have a very generous donation of 20 gifted Red Team memberships from Chazzy Mac. So if you got one of those, make sure you thank them in chat, and thank you, Chazzy, for the support. Welcome everyone to our membership program. It's remarkable, we're still going through store messages from people who purchased, most people are buying all 3 patches, so thank you to everyone for this amazing support. Alrighty, going to some more questions. Captain Lustig is asking, are they abandoning the stack? I see the ship down and they're working on it again. I think that's the question that we're all wondering of what exactly is going on. They seem to be preparing for a stack still though, correct, Ryan?
I mean, the thing is that the press lines are off, the press plate's off, and they're not working up. The ship QD arm work platform is not extended. However, the stabs aren't in. I don't think the chopsticks have the weight, and it looks like they're just kind of doing normal work around the launch site, as we can see here. So I really don't know if we're close to a lift. They're definitely ready to do one, but I don't know when.
I have breaking news.
Oh, yes?
The stabilizers are going in.
Okay, well, as I say, as we say that stabs are going in. Okay,
Lift,
so that's
lift,
good news.
Lift.
Good news.
Lift.
Awesome.
Everyone spam lift in chat, and then that'll make it go upwards. That's how we actually Nightbot in chat. That's actually how the chopsticks are controlled. So when you tell Nightbot to lift in chat, that will actually make the ship go up.
Oh, and some fun thing by some person named Elon. I don't know who that is, but apparently it was a reply to a graphic of Starship. He's saying that version 3 is going to be 10 to 15 meters longer. I mean, we kind of already knew. He had said before it'd be like 140, 150, which always seemed a bit too much. But I don't know, if you make the whole stack, what, 130, 135? That seems more plausible, I would say. No?
It would be very long.
That's a long...
Because that would mean that ship is about 60 meters and boosters 70.
Yeah,
right?
That just look weird at that point.
I wonder what's the longest what other rocket has a second stage that is like a substantial portion of its height? I honestly can't think of
what about the OG Atlas, because it technically had engines that the first stage was also the second stage. I don't know.
Right.
I
Interesting.
I was recently actually thinking about that, and I tried to do the math a while ago, and I think the Saturn V, the second stage, was more comparable to the first stage. The only thing is that the Saturn V was a 3-stage rocket, so it kinda doesn't count. But yeah, the second stage was 25 meters tall, and the first stage was like 40, so the only difference, it was like 15 meters in between. Whereas for Starship, Super Heavy is 70, and the Starship itself is 50, so it's like 20 meters of difference. Anyways, go on.
Thinking of the Saturn V, that just made me think of something. The N1. What's the difference between the first and second stages? I'm going to have a little look.
There was... the thing with the
it doesn't have
N1...
the height, it only has the diameter.
The thing with the N1, though, is that heights between the stages, I think, were relatively close, as just from straight memory. The thing with N1 is that it tapered all the way up to the top. So, the heights may be the same, but mass-wise, I mean, you're looking a lot difference because the width just kept going down. So, yeah.
the only kind of comparable thing I have here is the burn time, and the burn time on the first stage was 125 seconds, and on the second stage it was 120. So take of that what you will. So that's kind of similar.
Interesting. But yeah, I certainly can't think of a rocket that is anywhere near being 50% second stage.
Yeah, it would be something new, and it's kind of like one of those things, though. This is the first time anyone ever is making a fully reusable rocket. So it's kind of like, what's the design for such a thing, you know? Because no one's ever made one before. So you kind of have to play with it and figure out what works best.
Right. So, Alex, this is probably, if you're here, a good question for you. Why would they want to extend stage 2 over stage 1? It seems like you would want as much work to be done by the boosters that you don't have a ton of mass being re-entered.
Oh boy, there's probably a really huge long discussion about this because there's many benefits to it, but the main reason why you will want to have the ship extended is because you can carry more payload into orbit, but also on the other hand, once you have that ship up in orbit and you refuel it, that means you have more propellant available, which means you can carry more payload, or you can use more of that propellant to go faster to Mars, for example, or go to the moon or things like that, right? You're essentially making your capacity larger, not just to go into low Earth orbit, but also go to other destinations. So overall, it's very interesting and very, I don't know, it's just very convenient to extend the ship in that sense. And then also is the matter of the booster for Starship. I know I always bring up the point that Starship cannot be an SSTO, it cannot be a single stage to orbit, but it's barely. And by that I mean that if it were not that heavy, if it were a little bit less dry mass, and it had more powerful Raptors, etc., it could in fact go into orbit with all of the reusability, all of the flaps, the tiles and everything. But if you give it a slight push, then you can actually go into orbit, and with tons and tons of payload, literally tons of payload. And so the booster is actually there for that. And Elon, a while back, he said that the goal will be for the ship to be the one extended rather than the booster, and the booster ideally will only be flying for 90 minutes. Not 90 minutes, 90 seconds, excuse me. 90 seconds, and then come back to the launch pad within like 5 or 6 minutes instead of 8 minutes. That's what the minutes I was thinking of. But yeah, instead of 2.5 minutes of burn time, it will be 90 seconds. The way that you do that is not by reducing the propeller load, but rather having more hungry Raptors. Basically the Raptor 3, so to speak, right? So if you have more powerful Raptors that consume more propellant, then that means the total burn time is shorter, and it essentially gives the ship enough oomph to be able to get into orbit by itself once it separates from the booster. So that is the key here with that change to stretch the ship. It is good to carry more payload into orbit, but it also enables the ship to be able to carry more payload elsewhere once you refill it in orbit. So it gives you tons of flexibility. And then also at the same time, it's not really that hard to give the ship that capability, that push up closer into orbit with a booster. But yeah, that's sort of the whole deal. And again, there could be a huge long debate about this.
Interesting, yeah. Anyway, going back to a status update, old Ryan, it looks like the pad is becoming emptier, except for around the OLM, but the base of ship seems to have fewer people. So can you just give us a status update?
Yeah, so the stabilizers appear to be in and fully locked in, so that's a good start. Which also means the chopsticks will probably can take the weight of ship again if they haven't already. I'd have to go A/B test because you'll see the whole thing flex when it starts to do that. And we're just kind of waiting for them to clear out of the OLM and whatnot. I don't see anyone up on the tower or anything. I just see people on the OLM. So whatever they're doing, it's going to have to be finished up, and then hopefully we can get a lift. Hopefully it's within like an hour or so, you know.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Now we'll be here until... Also,
Sorry, I jinxed it.
I do want to point
You
out...
can't see it, but I'm shaking my head.
To all of our YouTube members, we have the patch 3 available as a YouTube emote now. So I'm not going to say spam it in chat because Nightbot and the mods would hate me for it. But
Too late. They were already spamming it while I was talking about the stretching and everything.
yeah, but we got new emotes, so thank you everyone for being a member. Alrighty, oh boy, I started it in chat. I'm sorry, mods, you can blame me. So here's a question regarding the timeline for British Ryan. So if we have a wet dress tomorrow or Wednesday, is it likely that they'll go into a static fire campaign of the full stack?
That would change everything we've ever seen. That would be an incredibly unlikely turn of events, because the booster and the ship have both static fired, and ship 28 has actually static fired twice out at suborbital pad B. So after a full wet dress, we would expect maybe potentially, or actually, that's not a potentially, we would definitely expect a D-stack after a wet dress. A minimum of 1 D-stack in order to arm the flight termination system, then be stacked on top, and then it would launch. This is in the perfect world, best case scenario. We're probably going to see maybe a couple more D-stacks after a wet dress rehearsal, like as a minimum, just because they'll be checking things out, making sure every little thing is as perfect as possible before launch. And of course, on the regulatory side, we still need SpaceX to submit their mishap reports to the FAA for them to sign off. So there's still a couple of things left to do. A static fire is definitely not expected, though.
Right, we have never seen SpaceX even attempt a static fire of a full stack unless it's a launch attempt, which is a static to dynamic fire, I guess. Let's see, another store message. I've been watching NSF for 3 years now. Thanks for the great coverage of spaceflight from James Webb to IFT 1 and 2. Well, thank you for being a long-time member. We really appreciate it. Alright, Ryan, I don't want to call you old Ryan. People in chat are saying that's mean, so I'll call you Mechanic Ryan. Is that fair?
Sure. But to be fair, we've already established with Jack that sometimes you can be mean, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but Jack is fun. I don't have the same energy as Jack for being mean.
You're boring, Trevor. You're boring.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why you should have. That's why you should have taken my suggestion of calling these two Dolphin and Plane, because one is Depot Dolphin, and the other works on planes. But you chose British Ryan and All Ryan. That's boring.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mechanic.
Mr. Mechanic.
How are the chopsticks holding up Starship? Is it just hanging by the arrowhead thingy, or is it attached somehow?
So just under the forward flaps, there is a socket where there's a large ball pin, and each chopstick has one of these. The ball pin basically goes in, goes up, and locks into place. And then the stabilizers go in and hold it for stabilization. It's that's how ship is held up. It's a 4-point system, And Booster is also a 4-point system. However, Booster is the opposite in terms of the main way it's holed. Booster has a set of like lift points that go into a track that are on the chopsticks, and then the stabilizers work the same way. They go in and come up and lock. So that's basically how those are held together, and it's designed to hold all that weight. So yeah, almost like 200. Well, chopsticks are designed, I think, probably to hold like 350. As a safety margin, or safety margin wise, probably a lot more than that. But yeah.
Right. It is pretty impressive, the system that they've come up with to stack these vehicles. The first stack of 420 was done with a crane, and that was so janky looking back at it.
Those two vehicles, man, you look back at Ship 20 and Booster 4, they were pure jankiness, and the whole system was just MacGyvered together. Like, I'm trying to remember what the hook system was for that setup, because the system changed. It's a slightly different system now, so yeah, than it was before.
In hindsight, I feel a little bit silly thinking that could have flown.
I don't think that vehicle would have made it off the launch pad, even if they attempted a launch.
It would probably been a pad fall back at best. It would have been a pad fall back.
I think it could have left the pad, but I don't think it would have left the pad going upwards. I think it would have been forward, left, or right.
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, what Astra did with their vehicle, except for the most powerful vehicle ever launched. I do know who MacGyver is. I see people asking in chat. That is one of the few shows I know.
MacGyver's so cool.
I really enjoyed MacGyver when I was young. Maybe I'll have to go watch some of those again.
Rewatch time. Then I gotta rewatch Stargate SG-1 because Richard Dean Anderson is Jack O'Neill, so then I gotta rewatch that, so, Yeah, as Chris is saying in there. Yeah. Another SG-1 rewatch. Can never go wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this is now, so...
Oh my god, Trevor. You need to watch SG-1. You just need to. It's fun. It's sci-fi.
Is SG-1 the, what is it called? Stargate? I was thinking Star Trek. Okay, Stargate.
No. I will say this to Chris B. You can't see the GIF. I will explain the GIF because those who know Stargate will understand the GIF. The GIF he posted in our back channel is exactly how I feel about SpaceX. It is the GIF from Window of Opportunity where Jack O'Neill takes ketchup and mustard and draws a smiley face on a plate and just shoves it up to the camera. That is exactly how I feel right now. Going nuts. 3 fries short of a Happy Meal. Wacko.
Is that ketchup and seemingly ranch?
Oh, man. There you go. You did it. Taylor reference.
Let's see. Gabriel ordered a bunch of things from the store, like so many of those today, asking, been here since Booster 7 Static Fire. How long do we think there will be between flights 3 and 4? So, British Ryan, without this flight having taken off, this is a very hard question to answer, but what would be your gut feeling of time between flights 3 and flights 4?
If assuming this stack, which isn't stacked, launches in March, I'm gonna kind of go on a linear scale from the difference between flight 1 and flight 2, and flight 2 and flight 3. So we have April to November, which is May, June, July, August, September, October. No, that's 7 months, and then we have November to March, which is December, January, February. That's down to 4 months. So let's say 2 months between flight 3 and flight 4 would be my guess.
Okay. Ryan, are you thinking about the same?
Yeah, It could be. It really depends on what the work that they've been doing the last like 2 months to the OLM does in terms of turnaround time. I could see a month and a half, because it's like ship 28 and booster 10 were pretty close to being ready for static fires even once flight 2 launched, and booster 11 and ship 29 are going to basically be even closer. Like, those are probably going to be ready for static fires, if they aren't already, by the end of February, which means that SpaceX will basically be waiting on the OLM to static fire booster 11. And suborbital pad B is ready to go for 29. It's the real kicker of turnaround time. A month and a half, 2 months, between a month and 2 months, if they've done upgrades. I'm hoping for faster turnaround.
That would be nice if it was like 2 to 3 months, because then what they could probably get to like maybe flight 6 this year if they're lucky, which seems about on brand, I would say. Anyway, Angry American with the super chat saying MacGyver and Stargate SG-1 are both awesome. I hope that means more to you, Ryan, than it does to me.
Yeah, it means and Atlantis. I still liked Universe. It was getting going and they canceled it. I'm sad. But
thank you, Angry American, for support and always hanging out with us. Then we have a very kind store message from Michael saying, "Thank you, NSF, for everything you guys do. I've been a huge fan since the Hop days. I remember as a teenager watching us land on the moon for the first time with my family and relatives all around in awe watching Walter Cronkite. You guys have definitely inspired a whole new generation of space nerds. God bless you all and protect your travels to bring us such amazing video streams and information." Well, these are the messages that, I mean, they really are just so cool to hear. People who, watched Apollo and are now watching Apollo happen at an even larger scale. So thank you for tuning in, and, it's our absolute honor to be able to bring these views to you guys and inspire people and have people start watching us that say, hey, I want to go into aerospace, and then they're the ones that are bringing us these awesome views and learn way more than we ever do. So just thank you to everyone for that. All right. James is saying, Trevor, sheltered life, no movies or TV. I know some movies and some TV, but
stop lying, Trevor. Everyone knows you just read physics textbooks. That's all you do.
My bookshelf is almost entirely math textbooks, so I can't even counteract that.
And then what above it is Taylor vinyls, right?
There is a Taylor autograph above it. And a Lego space shuttle. So, all right. So, for Mechanic Ryan, Canon is asking, what are the press plates for? We talk about them a lot, and I don't know what they mean.
So the press plate on the ship, since the booster doesn't have one anymore, because they don't even really press the boost. They don't use press lines on the booster when they roll it. They only do it when it's either on the OLM hooked up to a QD, or they have specialized equipment in the in like the bays for it. Now the press plates are for ship, because they need a way to interface the pressurization lines with the ship QD. So basically the press plate offers an interface to do that, along with power and stuff like that. So that's really all it's for. Now, we did see some possible changes to ship 32's QD, which could mean that the press plate will go away by then, and probably V2 won't need, the new V2 starships won't need one. So hopefully this is just 28, 29, 30, and 31 that are the only ones that need it. So that's basically what the press plate's for.
Awesome. Thank you for that. James with another super chat saying, "That's okay, Trevor. We love you." Well, that's kind. Love all of you guys too for watching. And Mark is saying, "Fantastic job on the streams. It shows dedication above and beyond. When will they name a starship Enterprise?" I'm gonna go out on a hot take here and say I kind of hope SpaceX doesn't name a bunch of these ships. I think the names are hard to remember.
I think if they do name one, I hope something like Enterprise, because how many cruise ships are they really gonna have? Is my question. Like in the long run, because we know they're gonna have a ton of tankers, they're gonna have a lot of cargo variants, they're gonna have a lot of Starlink variants. But how many cruise ships are they actually going to have? And I think if it's a cruise ship, you name it. But other than that, you don't name the ship. The ship is just, like S52 or whatever it is for, like, a tanker or something like that. Unless they do, like, T52 or something for tanker, which I hope they don't do, because I don't know why, that just doesn't sound right. But, like, for cruise ships, I hope they go through and do like Enterprise, Columbia, Discovery, Endeavor. I kind of hope they name them after the shuttles. Also, because Enterprise is a pretty famous name, not just in Star Trek, but to naval stuff. You know, I think they should name one Enterprise, and if it is named Enterprise, it should be the first ship going to Mars.
I mean, that's pretty like spot on with how SpaceX has approached the Dragon 2s. The cargo dragons are not named, but the crew dragons are. We have Endeavour, Resilience, Endurance, and Freedom, and then the fifth dragon, which is currently under construction, which hasn't been named yet, which would be interesting to find out what that is named. But I kind of agree with that the cruise ships have more of a personal connection to people, so they should be. I feel like they're entitled to names, but we're going to have so many tankers, the names will just be impossible to keep track of.
Yeah, just keep them like booster numbers kind of thing. Also, I want to see decals on the boosters for booster numbers, and we don't have like a starship along the side or even a SpaceX logo on the boosters yet. So I hope they do something like that for Super Heavy down the line. Kind of like they have with Falcon 9. I hope they do, because the boosters look cool, but they are kind of bland. You know?
So, I have to ask you guys a question then. I think we can all agree, us on stream and everyone in chat, that Endeavour was the best name for a space shuttle, and Endeavour was the best shuttle. So what is your guys' favorite Dragon capsule between the four that are named?
That's just blatant misinformation, Trevor. Endeavour was not the best space shuttle. Discovery was the best space shuttle.
Weird. That's such a weird pronunciation of Endeavour.
I think Endeavor is the better name for the Dragon capsule, but that's just me. I liked all the shuttles. We'll go with that. All the shuttles. Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
Which Dragon spacecraft, though?
I said, well, Endeavor for
okay.
Dragon.
And British Ryan?
I am torn between Endeavour and Resilience. Endeavour because it was the first one to carry humans. Resilience because it carried Inspiration 4, which was like a very, in the name, inspiring. This is a terrible pun. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to be sincere here. It was a very inspiring mission to me. Inspiration 4. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go with Resilience.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. It's pretty cool that it did Inspiration 4 and then gonna do Polaris Dawn. It really is like Jared Isaacman's personal Dragon spacecraft at this point. Alright, going back to some questions here. Taking a look at the production site, we still see from the lights moving around at the base, there are unfortunately still crew. So, we'll keep waiting.
It definitely looks like they're kind of inspecting the concrete. You know, it's a really like It has absolutely nothing to do with the ship whatsoever. There's just these two guys knelt down on the concrete. I have no. Unfortunately, there's like a little lip there to try and keep the water in from the deluge system. So, we can't see what they're doing. It's just. I wish we had some kind of big tower on top of this deployable camera that we could shoot up into the air and
I
have a
think
go.
what they're looking for is perhaps our patience.
Yeah. But what they're actually doing, I think they're filling in cracks or something like that. I don't know. I think that's what Andrew R was saying in our back channel. You know, I mean, it's just kind of. But as Alex said, they're just kind of looking for patience. They're testing it. We're getting someone lost their keys, Kevin. Whoops.
Yeah, I forgot.
Maybe that's what.
I dropped my phone. Can we find it, please?
Yeah. Can we find it?
I forgot to put an air tag on my patience, so I can't find it.
Oh, dearie me.
Any mechanics here will get this joke. Someone lost their 10mm socket. Any car mechanic will get that joke.
I get it.
Same.
Very funny. Haha.
Okay, Trevor.
Trevor,
or
you're so uncultured.
someone either lost their 10mm socket or someone lost their like 3/8 or 7/16. Any mechanic will get that joke. Like
These foreign imperial units, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm an American and I couldn't tell you what the heck 7/16 is or why that's an actual unit.
It's the size of a bolt, and it's used everywhere on a 737. Everywhere.
Sure, I get that, but like, why?
It's a standardized thing. Not even Airbus uses millimeters for their bolts because the standardization for airlines and aircraft is Imperial, is using 7/16 and inches and whatnot. Yes, I know. Don't say it. I know it's dumb. The only thing that's metric, I think, that's used is some of the wire gauge stuff by Airbus is metric. Other than that, it's all Imperial. Other than nautical miles. Like, and knots. Everything is basically Imperial.
I think nautical miles is basically Imperial, though.
But yeah, so
it's Imperial, but even weirder.
Basically. So yeah. They decided to standardize it a while ago, and like way back, and everyone uses Imperial for it. It's Imperial and basically English is one of the biggest things for aircraft around the world. So yeah. Unfortunately.
Interesting. It is so bizarre that between Europe or the whole world hasn't decided for like bolt sizes. Like, let's either use metric or Imperial. Let's not have this weird mismatch of them where you need to get two set of wrenches and all that. But I don't know. I don't get it. But I'm not a mechanic.
It makes perfect sense here in the UK. I mean, there's this meme of a flow chart I saw on Twitter the other day, how to measure like a Brit. If you live here, it just makes sense. A combination, it's the perfect system.
Now it also looks like they're picking up FOD. So I will say this could be related to the possible upcoming wet dress rehearsal. Is earlier today they took a bunch of red caution tape around the OLM legs, basically to keep the steel plate clear. So we could be seeing a deluge plate as part of that wet dress rehearsal, because, just to test it, because the last time they fired that thing was during the Booster 10 static fire a month and a half ago at this rate. So my guess is they're going to want to test it, so I guess they're getting rid of a bunch of FOD in the area so it doesn't wash all over the place. So why they're doing that now and not stacking? Ask SpaceX.
It's because we're live. Don't you know that? I bet if we were like, let's go on a commentary pause, within 5 minutes they would get ready to stack.
Probably.
Well,
Okay.
it depends. If we put on again the metal music, maybe they'll keep it down just to listen to the metal.
Yeah. So they're gonna be the head banging again while they're listening to it while they're trying to do work. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, how many stones does Starship weigh?
What's your what's your
Trevor, you clearly didn't follow the flowchart. The flowchart clearly says mass. Are you weighing people? Starship is not a people. No. So we use kilograms.
Okay, what if I think Starship is a person?
Then I feel like there's a bigger philosophical question to be answered there rather than how many stones does Starship weigh?
It's a philosophical question. Oh man.
I know one of the most confusing things I found when I was in the UK was how, for some reason, gas is, or petrol as you guys would call it, it's sold like in liters, correct? But then the cars that we were in were giving miles per gallon. So it's like,
it's another Trevor, the American mind cannot comprehend this, you know. It just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
I don't.
See, it's easier in mainland Europe because here we just have liters, and then we have liters per 100 kilometers or something like that, instead of miles per gallon or some silly unit.
But is the convention actually liters per 100 kilometers?
Yeah, we do that here.
But
how many liters does it consume every 100 kilometers? And so what you can do is, since you normally know what is the volume of your tank on your car. So by dividing by the number of liters per 100 kilometers, then you know how many hundreds of kilometers your car can do on a single tank. It's much more intuitive, I guess.
Or, I mean, I think what US does makes some amount of sense. You know your miles per gallon, multiply that by how many gallons your tank is, and then you don't need any division. That is bizarre. Anyway, we should probably go back to this shiny steel tube that is on our monitors and questions about that. Oh boy, here's the question that I think everyone is wondering from Altar Studio. Any updates on the launch date? This question is like an hour old, and they said they just joined, so hopefully they're still here. But British Ryan, what is your best guess for IFT3 launch date?
February is just kind of I don't want to say it's impossible, because as soon as I say that, they'll launch on the 29th or something. But it's incredibly unlikely. March is where you want to be, you know, that's what you want to be putting your dollars on, or your pounds on at the moment. Because not only of what Elon said, but also because of the statement that Adrian received from the FAA last week, that at that point SpaceX still hadn't submitted their end of the mishap investigation, which is, you know, this is a SpaceX-led investigation. This has nothing to do, we're not waiting for the FAA. The FAA are waiting for SpaceX. So I assume as soon as the FAA gets that, they'll hammer through that as fast as possible in order to approve the requested changes, I think, as they put it, for the launch license, which would allow SpaceX to launch Flight 3.
I think the report, if I remember correctly, the report is submitted, but the FAA wanted more information, so they're working through it with SpaceX, and basically the investigation is not closed; it is still open, but the initial report is submitted. If I remember correctly on that one, I think it was.
It's a very complicated matter because
yeah.
So normally when a mishap happens, the operator or whoever is in charge of the mishap normally is the operator, but the FAA can also be in charge of the the mishap investigation. In this case, it is SpaceX, the one that is leading the investigation. They have a plan, right? They have a mishap plan. They follow through that plan. That plan is approved already before the launch happens by the FAA. They concur with that plan. If there were to be a mishap, then SpaceX follows through, and in this case they're following through it. And so that plan involves studying what happened during the flight, making sure they understand what happened during the flight, and trying to come up with mitigations. And that eventually all goes down into a report, an investigation report, and that is handed out to the FAA that, you know, goes over it, and they're like, okay, well, this looks okay, and now you gotta implement, you gotta make sure that all of these recommendations that you found out yourself, now you gotta implement them and make sure that they work. And so the problem right now is we know that at least the SpaceX has handed out that report to the FAA, but we don't know things like what the FAA said back, whatever there's any other testing to be done, whatever data they might need to gather to complete the whatever number of required modifications that they have identified. Like, we just don't know those specifics right now. And the only thing that we know is that they are right now in that process, and SpaceX has now submitted all of the information needed for the FAA to clear them for basically the investigation entirely. Once all of the things are already in place, then the FAA can clear the investigation, which, if you remember for Flight 2, SpaceX submitted the report from the Flight 1 mishap investigation around late August, and within 2 weeks the FAA said, okay, we're cool with this, now implement the 63 mitigations that you have found out. And by the late October timeframe, they said, okay, now we think that all of the things that you have done are okay, so you're good to go. The safety review is complete. It took another 2 weeks to get the launch license modified, because in the meantime they were also doing environmental reviews, so they were doing the whole thing with the Fish and Wildlife Service. We don't think that's happening right now. All of the information that we have gathered from the FAA, it seems to point out that the Fish and Wildlife Service is not involved on this time. So that's sort of the long summary, because one could probably go even further into all of this discussion, but that is pretty much the timeline we are in, where SpaceX has delivered that report, but we don't know whether the FAA has said, okay, this looks good, now implement the changes, or whether they have said, no, you need to do more, right? And so we don't really know, and they're right now just missing information from what the FAA said.
Right. Good to know. Alrighty, going through. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
To add to that, and I know some people always ask, is the FAA delaying SpaceX? The answer to that is no. I just want to add that I even work with the FAA as a mechanic. What they're there for is they're there to make sure that things are done right. They're there to make sure the paperwork is correct. They're there to make sure everybody's safe. No one's going to get hurt or injured. No equipment is going to get unnecessarily damaged. They're there to make sure things are done right. And the way they work is they work on their own timeline with the resources that they have available to make sure things are done right. That's what they're there for. They don't delay. They're not delaying anyone.
And to be fair, SpaceX is not ready either. So, like,
no,
it's not just that this is not launching because someone is putting some kind of thing in the way, but it is also the fact that the vehicles are not ready.
Yeah, I mean, as we can see on screen right now, they don't even have a full stack, and that full stack, as we've been saying, has a decent amount of testing that they want to get done before a flight attempt. So I think Chris summed it up well the other day when he said we're looking at weeks but not months at this point. And I think that's a good way of summarizing where we are. All right. let's go through some more of your guys' questions. Ryan, so earlier you were talking about Starship version 3, which is something that we don't know that much about. But they're wondering, will HLS Starship be a variant of Starship version 3, or is it something completely different?
Starship version 3 will basically be, it'll be what this Starship is, probably stretched, probably 3 more RVACs, and more additions to reusability, and more additions of reusability, but reliability and things like that. HLS will the real thing is I would assume that HLS will be something along the lines of what version 2 is going to be, or the increased reliability and whatnot. I honestly think Elon likes to mention things that are years away. I think version 3 is years away from happening. Like, I think by the time a version 3 takes flight, we're gonna have like several pads operational at the Cape. To be honest with you, I think that's how far away it is. So I think HLS will be under what he's calling version 2. That's me personally, though.
Right. Yeah, it is also very possible that HLS is just kind of a completely different thing, right? We still don't have a good indication of whether it's going to have the additional landing thrusters. Right, when SpaceX started talking about HLS, they were going to land on the lunar surface with these thrusters that were, 2/3 or so of the way up the vehicle. But then when, in one of the interviews that Tim had with Elon, he said that they were trying hard to remove those. And then we haven't seen, if I remember correctly, on McGregor Live, any testing of said thrusters. So that's not to say that they haven't happened, it's just saying we haven't seen it. So who knows what's going on with that. It'll be very interesting to see. And it looks like... I thought I maybe saw a drone, but perhaps not in this view. Anyway, going back to some of your guys' support, Angry American saying Starship, Jack Kilt. Musical Wolves with $5 super chat saying, are they looking for where they misplaced the confuse the media button? No, I think they know where it is and are having fun pressing it.
They're spamming it at this point.
Yeah. Then James saying the Duramax is both metric and imperial, or my Duramax is both metric and imperial. What is a Duramax? I'm going to look this. Oh, it's a car. Okay, I don't.
Oh, yeah. I know a lot of cars are metric. It will also depends on where you buy where the car is made or what company makes it. Yeah, so it's usually what it is on that, because I know like that's why a lot of things use a 10mm socket. But yeah.
Right.
Duramax is a diesel engine, Trevor. That car.
Oh, it's well.
It's an engine, apparently.
You see, I only know EVs, so. And I know every car person in the chat is probably just like, oh, of course, this guy. Oh, people are saying it's a truck. I don't know.
I don't know that much about it, to be honest with you. I only know like a little bit about cars. When ask me about planes, go right ahead. I mean,
apparently it's an engine maker, so we've gotten it very wrong.
Thankfully, I don't know about cars, so I don't.
And a lift going up to 28. What's going on?
Is that a forklift on the other side of the of the ship. Can you see it across the stand?
Huh?
I can see like the whatever it's called, the things that just go up and like they have zigzags to be able to go up and down. I don't know. It's not a lift. It's like another type of lift.
Like a. Okay.
Look, I know about
telehandle?
vocabulary of spacecrafts and things like that, but I don't know about construction equipment.
Which camera are you looking at?
A scissor lifts, people are saying in chat. Yeah, across
the
the
scissor
stand, you
lift.
can see it. There. See, there. Thanks, operator. Kevin, probably.
Scissor
Thank you,
lift.
Kevin. Yeah, it does look
Okay.
like a scissor lift.
What's that? I think that's Mars. Something? Maybe? I don't know. Zoom, enhance. Maybe? I don't know, maybe I can't see it.
That bit far away.
Yeah, a bit far away.
Isn't it crazy just looking at this shot that this used to be just a little strip of land by the ocean with literally nothing there?
This? Yeah. This is the definition. This is the definition of... Focus time with Kevin Michael Reed. That's good. This is the example of standing near the tower and poking it, going, "Do something. Can you do something?" Like poking the ship. I don't know. I think we can see it. I think it's the CO2 tank, I think, is blocking it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's safe to say what is going on. This is the proper Texas tank watching that we love.
The proper Texas.
Watch
This is
them
like the
just
old
chain
days.
the aft flaps and call it a
If they
day.
do that, then it's over. Game over. Game over. It's over. Everyone go home.
Show ever.
Yeah, it's Jover.
James with another super chat saying Starship Serenity. That would honestly be a pretty cool name. I'm on board for that. Then William Warren became a PadRad member, and then Riley picked up the patch from the store. I must say, the feedback about this patch has been awesome. I'm really glad you guys enjoy it after Pauline put so much work into it. And then Richard also got something from the store. My guess is a patch. Let's see.
As Jack
Yep.
would say, this patch slaps. It's great. It's amazing. Love it.
And then Uneducated Engineer, a perfect description of what I am, with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Uneducated Engineer. Alright, let's get back to some questions. This is one that I've seen for a while that I doubt one of you will know off the top of your head, but I'm curious. Souls Redacted is asking, what rocket holds the record for highest thrust to weight ratio? That seems like an Alex question.
I
The
think.
Minotaur rocket.
Yeah.
At least for
It's
orbital
basically
rockets.
just an ICBM, right?
Yeah. For orbital rockets, it's probably Minotaur. I know, like, Ariane 5 was pretty close. with
Well-
how powerful its solid rocket boosters were.
You know, because I was just thinking only on US rockets.
But Ariane
But,
5 was pretty fast.
Yeah, but there's something faster that went into orbit. So there was a rocket out of Japan. I think it was actually in the same week as Falcon Heavy that currently holds the record for the smallest rocket to ever launch. And I think that one pulled off a thrust to weight ratio of something like 2.5 or 3 at liftoff, which is crazy, but it is because it's like a
crazy.
tiny rocket.
Yeah.
It looks like a model rocket, but just like a little bit larger than a model rocket. It can only launch like 5 kilograms into low Earth orbit. It's super small, and
It's still pretty cool, though.
I think it's around that. Like again, it's sort of the same thrust to weight ratio as you would expect from a model rocket kind of thing, where it just shoots off and just goes super fast. That's the kind of thrust to weight ratio that it achieves. I will have to look it up though.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, the SS-250, I think it's the name.
SS-250. I have to look this up now.
Depending on what
$520.
SpaceX, depending on what SpaceX,
520, yeah.
Yeah, 520. Depending on what SpaceX does with super heavy could. I mean, they could get that thrust to weight ratio to like 1.7, 1.8. I mean, if they really tried, they could for the full stack. You just get everything you can out of Raptor, or if you get a new, like, because I think this vehicle right here is capable. I think it's a 1.5 or 1.4, 1.5, something like that.
That's the goal, at least.
Yeah, which is pretty fast off the pad. That's pretty fast. What's Falcon 9? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Like what, 1.3 or so? Alex?
Can you repeat it?
Falcon 9 TWR.
For Falcon 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.3, 1.4. And Falcon Heavy is about 1.6. It's a bit more, but it is because it carries extra boosters and not extra second stages, and so it does not translate the same way. Because you're not carrying 2 second stages, for example, so you carry more thrust and less weight in proportion.
Wow, this rocket, the SS-520, is kind of crazy. It's done 2 orbital launch attempts.
And one of them failed, and then the other one in 2018. I remember it was the same week as Falcon Heavy demo.
3 days before.
It was the same week we had the largest, most powerful rocket at that time launching, and then like within a few days, it was the smallest rocket ever.
Apogee of 1,000 kilometers. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is remarkable though if you ignore some of the smaller vehicles and just look at like heavy lift rockets and higher, how high Starship is compared to Saturn V and N1 and all of those older vehicles. But I guess for expendable it makes a little bit more sense.
It's still a big rocket, but again, it just looks like it is some upscale model rocket. It's just like 0.5 meter in diameter, not more than 10 meters tall. So yeah, it's tall, it's very tall, very big, but there's some model rockets about just a little bit shorter than that.
Right. Alrighty. Greg with the store message. I love the new patch. I always get one for me and one for my brother. If my brother got me a gift like that, that would be amazing. Greg, thank you for that. Hope your brother enjoys it, and you. Celestial Space Agency with the super chat. When Starship gets stretched, will they extend the tower? I don't see how it would work otherwise. Or do you think they will build Tower 2 larger to start? Mechanic Ryan, what are your thoughts on how the tower will adapt with these growing vehicles that Elon has talked about?
It's hard to know if the tower will get extended. It probably won't. I want it to happen because a taller tower is always cool, but it probably won't get extended because with ship, even if they extend it, they can do something as simple as just moving the lift points down a little bit so that the carriage has enough room to go up the tower and still stack the ship. The problem is they can't go too far low, otherwise your center of mass your CG gets a little messed up and you might tip the ship. So there comes a point which you can't do it, but if they only stretch ship by 10-15 meters, They can probably move the lift points down a little bit, and they'll be fine. They probably won't need a taller tower in that case.
As long as the lift points are above the center of mass, it shouldn't really matter, right?
Yeah, as long as the lift points are above center of mass, their CG, and they can keep it stable, it won't tip over and fall.
Anonymous with the storm message: could booster make it to orbit by itself to strap a nose cone on it? Alex, this is your favorite question.
Well, that will be a very interesting thing to see, but it will not, like, on paper, it could, but it will not be efficient. Also, I just found out numbers on the thrust of that rocket, and it will have a thrust-to-weight ratio of 6, so yeah. That is on the smallest rocket that they launched.
So you really don't have a lot of gravity drag on that sucker.
Yeah, it's interesting because I just looked up the thrust of that rocket, and it's higher thrust than an RL-10 engine. That is interesting.
Wow. I'll tell you. Here's a fun plain fact. The CFM56-7, which is the engine used on 737 next generation aircraft, has a higher thrust level than the RL-10.
Well, there you go.
It makes you wonder why they're even using it on a moon rocket. It's kind of sad to be. That's just me, at least. It's just like, that's not a lot of thrust. It's not. Because the CFM56 can get 27,000 pounds of thrust. Yes, it's measured in pounds of thrust. Trevor, don't get mad at me.
But going back to the question, speaking of thrust-to-weight ratio, without the ship on top, you will also have a lot of thrust-to-weight ratio on your booster. Yeah, because it's true, because you're removing 1,300 tons of, like, you're removing a ton of weight off the top of the.
No, you're removing way more than a ton, Alex.
I said 1,300 tons.
Yeah, and then you said you're removing a ton.
Oh boy.
I'm trying to be Sawyer, but I'm bad at it.
Anywho, what I was going to say is that you also have a lot of thrust-to-weight ratio, so probably maybe removing a few engines here and there might not be bad. Excuse me. And also by removing a few engines, that may make the drive mass lower, which means you can bring more payload into orbit if you can actually achieve an orbit with the booster. Now, it all comes down to how heavy the vehicle is. The math is a bit on the edge, so to speak. But yeah, you will probably need some interesting modifications, let's say.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It'd be cool though. Just because. But
Coco gifted a red team member, Abby, saying "Go Starship" with the storm message, buying our wonderful patch, which was just released today if you were tuning in, and then Anonymous saying thanks for the patch. Let's see, I guess Mechanic Ryan, it's worth going over if people are just joining us. What exactly are we seeing? What are we waiting for? Why are there people around the vehicle? Why don't we have a full stack?
I mean, why don't we have a full stack?
Why isn't it launching?
Go up there and someone can go up there and ask SpaceX that question, because I can't answer this, but I can tell you where we're at. So, with the lift just going away from the ship QD, although it was already taped up, so I don't know why it was already up there unless they needed more tape, which would be kind of funny. But anywho, ship QD platform is retracted. The press lines and press plate are off the ship. The stabilizers are in, and I'm pretty sure, and the pins are in for the ship. It just doesn't, as far as I know, the weight has not been taken again by the carriage and the chopsticks. So we're just kind of waiting for them to clear the pad and then release the clamps and lift this thing. It's kind of where we're at right now. they could truly do it at any time once the pad's clear, or it could be hours from now. We don't really know, to be honest. We're kind of in the dark and waiting along with the rest of you guys. So, just kind of hang out with us, and we'll see where this goes here.
All right. Let's see. Here's a question. Where did it go? Oh yeah, from 20-minute vent for you, British Ryan. So if Booster 9 had fuel slosh, why don't they use a header tank to prevent that from happening?
I think that... I don't think that is a... Alex is going to be like, well, actually, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I, using my limited knowledge, don't think that a header tank would be a terrible idea for the booster, but as a... It has one? Does it have one?
It has a header tank. So, Booster has a header tank, a LOX header tank at the bottom of the, right at the bottom of the tank, which is for LOX, and the methane header tank is basically the methane transfer tube, or the downcomer, as some people call it. In regards to the flip and boost back burn, they usually use the fuel that's in the main tank, like Falcon 9 does, if memory serves. Pretty sure Falcon 9 uses stuff in the main tank for that. And they just use a ullage burn to settle it. Now, with Booster 9, it may have done a whole thing of the hot staging pushed back on the booster, which might have slowed it down a little bit. It then did a flip, which caused all the fuel to slosh up and then hit the side of the tank. And then when it went to reignite its engines, some of the engines were able to ignite because it had fuel flowing to it. And then that immediate punch of acceleration might have caused all of that fuel to slam into the bottom of the tank. So the possible solve to that is it looks like they've added slosh baffles to the bottom of the LOX tank. There were some new weld lines on it when it first came out of the Mega Bay after rolling back. They weren't on there when it rolled back after doing the static fire. Now these could be in response to that. And what these will help do is these will help prevent the fuel from going too far and too much around the tank, and it'll help keep the fuel at the bottom of the tank and not as sloshy around as much as possible. So, which could help them in the long run to actually having the fuel for the engines, so they don't blow up or get damaged or cavitate or anything, and they're able to actually do the boost back burn. That's basically what we think their solution is to it. We'll have to see if it actually works.
One thing that I also noticed when they rolled back Booster 10 for the first time, when it moved to the pad for static fire, is that there's something on the liquid oxygen tank that there wasn't before on Booster 9, and it just looks too much like a little vent at the same height as you will expect the sort of the top of the LOX header tank to be located at. And I suggested a while ago that there may be more than just a sloshing as being the problem in Booster 9, because it's a very dynamic moment in the like that flip is very dynamic. You have lots of forces, like you have the basically the blast of the ship engines slowing down the booster and slamming all of the, because when you relight the engines, then all of that liquid then slams back on the domes and things like that. You have a lot of things going on. You also have, for example, the pressures change because now you're shutting down engines, and the engines are the ones that are providing the pressure to the tanks because it's autogenous pressurization, and also because you shut down the engines, you change the acceleration inside of the tanks, and so now the same gas is also the liquid is also the gas, on the tanks. So you have liquid oxygen, and then above you have gaseous oxygen as the pressurization fluid for the tank. And the thing is, when you have that kind of stuff, and the same applies to the methane, of course, when you have that kind of stuff, you run the risk of part of the same way that that liquid can become gaseous. You also run the risk of sometimes that gas can be turned into a liquid just because it touches the liquid that is cold, and so it condenses back into a liquid. That is called an Ullage collapse, basically. And so this is, for example, what killed SN8. When SN8 flew, the methane header tank had an Ullage collapse, and so what that meant is that there was a sudden collapse of the gaseous methane inside of that header tank into a liquid, or at least partially that gas, right? And what that creates is it's an effect of a vacuum, so to speak, because it reduces the pressure inside of the tank. So things like that can damage the internals of your systems of the tanks and the plumbings, right? And so when you are in such a dynamic situation, where you have the booster flipping, the engines hitting from the top, the engines relighting, engines shutting down before that as well, like, you have such a dynamic situation where it's not just the slushing, it could also be Ullage collapse or pressures that are not well controlled. And so you start needing not just baffles, but also more vents and more control systems and all that stuff. It just becomes very chaotic. And so these flights are the moments where SpaceX really needs to gather that information and gather all of that data in order to thoroughly understand what happens during that flip and during that recovery. And it is the same as we saw with the ship flips when we had those SN flights. They did the belly flop, they flipped, and a lot of things happened during the flip, right? And so the same thing happened there, where they had a lot to learn with those flips. And so we're going to see the same thing here with Booster, where we're going to see a lot of learning from SpaceX, and hopefully it is in a lot less number of flights for the Booster than what it took for those SN hubs. But I think it's like, it's really a really complicated matter. It's not like Falcon 9, where you have the helium is the pressurization gas. You have only one cryogenic fluid, which is the liquid oxygen. The kerosene is pretty much at room temperature by then. So it's much more simple for Falcon 9. Super Heavy is a huge different beast. There you go.
Yeah. That it is. The scale of Super Heavy is just ridiculous. Then, let's see, we got some support in chat from people playing a little game of poker, except for without the cards. It was started with James saying, "I'm bored, so I'm just going to donate another $2. And then Jim says, "I call." Then 1979 Camaro doubled it, and then Jim folded, and then Chris K raised, and 1979 Cameo folded. So thank you all very much for that support and having fun with it. Let's see, some more support. Paul Webb with the $20 tip on tips.nasaspaceflight.com, saying, "It took a 3,000-mile road trip from Vermont to Starbase, and have been on the beach for the last 2 days. Saw a guy with cameras and New York plates, and had a nice chat with Sean. Thanks for the sticker. Thanks for inspiring me to get down and see this amazingness in person." Well, I'm really happy and jealous that you were able to go down. I need to go down this summer. You know, I've had Jack yelling at me for years now of, "Oh, you got to come down. It keeps changing. It's not going to be like this in 6 months." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." And then sure enough, 6 months later, I'm like, "Oh, I wish I went down."
Yeah, right. TLDR, if you see a guy in a Jeep that takes about 5 attempts to start, you've stumbled into Sean.
Oh, so Sean has a Jeep, Jack has the Land Rover?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jack's Land Rover is pretty cool. I'll give him that. Alright, Angry American with the $2 super chat saying, "A simple trap door baffle could be the overlooked fix." regarding what Alex was talking about. And then Tim with the storm message saying, all right, I'm ready for Flight 3 now, let's go, with many exclamation points. I think that is something we can all relate to. Let's see, going back to some questions. Let's see. Oh, Kevin is ready, so we can then go and talk about, in case you guys missed our announcement earlier, on shop.nasaspaceflight.com, we released the IFT3 limited edition patch. So there's the animation and there's the pad itself depicting Starbase above, or not Starbase, Starship above our beautiful planet. And shortly before re-entry over Hawaii. So I guess this goes to a good conversation. Ryan, we'll start with British Ryan. Do you think it will make it this far?
I hope so. As we can see with our Flight 2 patch, Flight 2 when nearly made it to the point of second engine cutoff. Flight 3, however, I have this sense of optimism that SpaceX literally managed to nail everything from Flight 1 in Flight 2. So I think they have a very good chance of nailing everything that went wrong with Flight 2 with Flight 3. And you know, I don't think the ship is currently prepared to survive re-entry. However, I do think there's a good chance that a theoretical scene, like you can see on that very patch, would be plausible. I'm mainly going to say theoretical because if Starship approaches Hawaii at that specific angle, something has gone a little bit wrong in terms of the inclination of the trajectory. But you know, you can imagine it in your head. It'll look much prettier in real life.
Yeah. And as you saw on your screen just a second ago, these patches are out along with the whole IFT collection. And then if you are still interested in the IF2 collection, we're selling that for the final few days. So now is your last chance if you're interested in any of that merch of getting it, except for, I believe the patch will be around until we sell out of it. So that will stay on store for a bit longer unless a bunch of them sell. But IFT3 patch will be on there for, as you can imagine, the foreseeable future. And there's Jack's favorite color with the IFT3 patch. That really is just Jack in a shirt. Let's see. Oh, it's orange. It is orange.
Well done, Kevin. Good to know you're not colorblind.
Yeah, so really good work done by Adrian and the whole shop team. And I see people are enjoying it. Anonymous saying, yay, IFT3 patch, great stream. Well, thank you for tuning in. And then K Wingo with the $10 super chat saying, since Starship is supposed to be rapidly reusable, have they thought about redesigning the launch mount? Dumping 358,000 gallons of water every launch doesn't really scream efficiency. So, Mechanic Ryan, how is SpaceX going to move Starship to be fully and rapidly reusable like they've promised?
Well, first off, I have to remember, I'm pretty sure that that is the full amount that they have inside the water deluge system. And I think they only use like a third or half of that whenever they fire it. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to look at the document again. But to make it more reusable, I mean, a lot of rockets use a ton of water on launch. I mean, just look at SLS. Falcon 9 uses a decent amount of, I don't know how much it uses per launch, but I know Falcon 9 still uses water every launch. Same thing with Falcon Heavy, Vulcan. It's kind of one of those accepted things that is kind of needed for a rocket launch, which was always kind of odd when they decided to opt against that. After opting to do it really early on in Starbase's history, they opted against it, and well, we can see what happened. But a lot of the things reusable wise is going to be in and around the OLM itself. Shielding, they're going to have to find a way to like water cool the deck of the OLM, kind of like they did with Saturn V, like they did with Shuttle and SLS, in order to try to stop burning up a lot of that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of little things they're gonna have to do going forward to try to make this thing more reusable, but for right now they kind of just need to launch and they'll figure it out as they go.
Right. Going through the final bits of support, Anonymous says the best looking patch so far. Jaden said can't wait to get the patch. And then Tyson with the super chat saying, I'll be in Dallas with my dad for the Eclipse in April, heading down to Starbase for first time to see all the awesome activities shortly after. So excited. I'm excited for you. This summer, I'm forcing myself to go down.
I need to too.
Yeah, and then Anonymous saying, okay, you got me, take my money. Ordering what seems to be all 3 mission patches. So yeah, there's IFT1, IFT2, and IFT3. But with that, unfortunately, since SpaceX has... Actually, Ryan, do you want to just give us an overview of what SpaceX has done today, why we thought there was a lift imminent, and now why we think there's maybe not a lift so imminent?
Which one?
Let's go British Ryan.
Okay, it's the accent. I can tell it's the accent. So SpaceX lifted Ship 28 off of the stand, right? And then they stopped. And we got very excited about this. This is like a prime indication they're going to lift the ship because they lifted the ship. But as we are now, SpaceX have done this twice now. It's getting ridiculous, SpaceX. They're the ultimate trolls. And they have done nothing but put the ship back onto the stand, and now they appear to be doing even more work on it. So that is what has happened. We thought SpaceX were going to be lifting the ship today, wonderful sunset lift, beautiful picturesque lift, and they've trolled us once again.
Yeah, so we will be ending the dedicated live stream, but as always, we have Starbase Live, our 24/7 cameras in Starbase that we'll be covering it if they do lift tonight, and then of course on social media at NASA Spaceflight, we'll be covering that as well. Going through, thanking the final people, Nick with seemingly got another patch. Let's see. Yeah, it is another patch. Thank you very much for all of your generous support today in super chats, in gifted memberships, and of course in purchasing things from shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Then thank you to everyone who's been on today, starting with Alex, who was never officially on, but Alex, thank you for hanging out, providing us with insightful comments, and just being around.
I will have preferred to see Ship 28 hanging out, but all right.
Yeah.
Then
yeah, that's a pawn token. You can roll it off, Kevin.
Then British Ryan, thank you very much for being on today and not getting confused when I just say Ryan instead of British Ryan.
You're very welcome, Trevor. I think chat will probably be able to come up with something, but I think we definitely need a way to get SpaceX back at their own game, because this is 2 times in a row that they've trolled us now, and I mean, it's starting to rack up. There's certainly something that needs to be done. Just saying.
Yeah. And then finally, Mr. Ryan Weber, thank you for being on stream today.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. I mean, I was hoping to see a ship lift again. SpaceX just loves trolling us, and yeah, it's fun. I hope they get it done tonight. Yeah, I hope they do. But yeah, we're gonna sign off for now, since they're not really doing a whole lot. They're just kind of doing stuff around there. But yeah.
Either way, it's been a fun little chat. So
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, always fun to release new merch as well. And then in the background, we've had Mr. Kevin Michael Reed operating the stream, then I believe Jay was also operating at the start, and then Gage with camera support. But anyway, I've been the host, Trevor Sesnick, for today's stream. Thank you all for joining us, and make sure to check out Starbase Live for continued views of Starbase.